Truly, the one worthy of being called my opponent, the Knight of Light, is also the fearsome immortal king. In the dark night, a knight in silver armor with wings and a sword that glowed with golden light, together with his comrades, were fighting against a mysterious man and a group of zombies. The other man was covered in a cloak that only revealed his scary skull face. He was truly worthy of being the nightmare of the continent, the immortal king, but as long as the power of light is with us, we will not lose. The flying knight swung the decisive sword for this battle. He was the righteous Knight of Light. Scene change, a teenager is sitting in a room sipping a can of beer. Their fighting seems so dramatic, isn't it? Yes, this is a play. Why does comedy turn out like this? Unexpectedly, the trash watching and the knight and the scary skull-faced guy were all the same person. The day began. At the house where the young man lived, an investigator stood in front of the door. "We are from the Special Investigation Department of the Capacity Management Department. You are Han Sung-yun, right?" Han Sung-yun's face darkened for a moment. The investigator continued to say, "Yes, we have confirmed. If you awaken any abilities, please remember to report to the Ability Management Department. Have a good day." Han Sung-yun was silent, then the investigator left. He thought to himself, his first interaction with an outsider after half a year has ended. Which means I won't need to open for another 6 months. Han Sung-yun rummaged through the pile of supplies helplessly. They were expired. "It's been 2 years since I last went out. I'm a recluse." He had difficulty getting up with crutches because one leg was injured. "I think, some people will say I'm pathetic, or curse me for being weak. But I'm a victim of this damn world." In the dark room, the TV was broadcasting news. Breaking news: firefighters were fighting a fire at a shopping mall. The arsonist seemed to be a false awakening who committed random crimes before being transported to another world. False awakening. Back in the past, one day humanity began to randomly awaken mysterious powers called abilities. When someone awakens their ability, they will be forced to transfer to another world within 24 hours. If they meet certain conditions, they can return to Earth, but only a very small fraction actually survive and return. Han Sung-yun thought to himself, once awakened, he started to commit reckless, hopeless crimes right before being transferred. 2 years ago, someone's desperate fake awakening caused a huge explosion that caused Han Sung-yun to lose his family, his legs, and even the courage to stand up. After that time, Han Sung-yun practiced his legs hard, but it all seemed meaningless. He wondered why he was doing this when it had no effect. It was so pathetic. Why am I drowning in fear just by taking one step out the door? If I were more courageous, would anything change? If I could just get out of this damn room and go somewhere. While immersed in negative thoughts, suddenly a system appeared from nowhere, startling Han Sung-yun, detecting a space inflection point, connecting to the Akasha system. Awaken unique skills. Han Sung-yun looked around confused. What the hell? I woke up like this. The system continues to say, the avatar's unique skill has awakened. The avatar's unique skill has awakened. False awakening. The remaining time until transfer to another world is. A 24-hour countdown timer appears. 24 hours. You have 24 hours left. Han Sung-yun shouted in panic, so surprised. Are you kidding? Warning system. If you do not enter the moving area within the time, we will conduct a forced escort. Han Sung-yun was scared and immediately ran to prepare. They said it would take at least a year to return to Earth. Time in the other world is 10 times slower than on Earth. So I have to survive for 10 years before I can return. Can I survive? The countdown system has 3 minutes left. At this time, Han Sung-yun had finished preparing everything and stood trembling in front of the moving area. There was only a step away, but he was afraid to step. He scratched his head worriedly. No, I can't even walk out the door, and I don't have any strength or skills. How can I survive in another world? Suddenly a thought flashed in Han Sung-yun's head. Wait. Skills, when it comes to skills, there is ability, right? Let's see what kind of power it is. Thinking, Han Sung-yun shouted loudly, activating the avatar skill. In front of him immediately appeared an identical body. Han Sung-yun was surprised with this result. What the hell, it's me. He was even more surprised to discover that he was seeing 2 faces. Impossible, impossible. These are 2 copies of him. He suddenly thought, yes, I'm sharing vision with the avatar, right? The feeling of nausea came from nowhere, causing Han Sung-yun to cover his mouth. He tried to move his body separately, causing him to face too much. Moving both at the same time was impossible. The system announces, 1 minute left to move. If you do not enter the area, a forced escort will be taken. Han Sung-yeon collapsed into the clone's chest and lamented, even with an avatar, this is useless, out of all the abilities, why did I get stuck with something as useless as me? Han Sung-yeon looked up at his copy, if only there was someone who could go up there instead of him. This clone with a cold face walked thoughtlessly into the transfer area. The system announced that false awakening had been confirmed, and began to move. Han Sung-yeon watched helplessly as his stars entered the transfer area. The moving was starting. Han Sung-yeon finally collapsed and sat on the floor stuttering. It worked. Han Sung-yeon was surprised, the moving area recognized the avatar as himself. Notification system, transfer to Auterica dimension has been completed. Scene change in a forest. Han Sung-yeon doubts, I sent my avatar, why am I here? The system appears again, you can return to Earth through the return option in the karma store. Collect karma on your adventure. Current karma. Suddenly something made Han Sung-yeon's head hurt. He saw two scenes in front of him, I'm not really here, I'm just sharing the view with the avatar. Han Sung-yeon screamed in pain, this made me so dizzy, cancel the summon. The forest scene disappeared. Han Sung-yeon was stunned when he was in his room again. He covered his mouth and rushed straight to the bathroom to vomit. After settling down, he wiped his mouth in relief, at least he avoided the crisis of having to move away. Then Han Sung-yeon raised his hand to summon the avatar. Standing in front of his avatar, Han Sung-yeon was helpless, his life was over. What should I do with this useless ability from now on? Suddenly the system pops up, congratulations, you have achieved a great feat, go back there without using the karma store. You have received a special reward, the achievement of unlocking the space transfer portal. Once a day you can move to a place you have been to through the transfer portal. Han Sung-yeon was stunned, what? Your karma has increased sharply. And from then on, just like that, Han Sung-yeon became a false awakener and returned to Earth in the shortest time ever. Notification system, karma currently has 1,910,000. Han Sung-yeon was confused, 1,9 million karma. So much just to summon an avatar, I got 5 points at once. Realizing that he had too many karma points and when he saw the refund box on the system, Han Sung-yeon intended to refund. Karma returns are based on one's impact in the afterlife. Good deeds or bad deeds, killing or hard work. Accumulated karma can be used to upgrade skills or return to Earth. He sat on the sofa seriously thinking, is this a mistake, what if they force me to release it later? But right after that, Han Sung-yeon optimistically thought, never mind, I didn't do anything wrong on purpose. Let's see, I'm on Earth, so there's no point in going back. On the system, there are 3 options. Refund 1 million that cannot be used, upgrade ownership skills 300,000, upgrade detailed view index. Han Sung-yeon wondered, what is a stat upgrade? Having said that, he clicked on the stat upgrade box. The system displays detailed stats including physical strength and increased recovery power. Han Sung-yeon was suspicious of the increased recovery rate. Then he gently pressed it on the system. A flash of blue light impacted his legs. Han Sung-yeon noticed something. He felt something on his leg. That's right, the wound in your leg is being healed by the system. Han Sung-yeon recalls his sad past. For him, the wound in his leg was not just an inconvenience, it was a sign of farewell to his family. And is the scar that confines him to his room. The system sounds, your recovery power has exceeded the standard level. Skill, you have achieved super healing, an effect that enhances healing. It was already evening. Han Sung-yeon sat down and used the leg exercise equipment again easily. I used karma points and healed the wound on my leg, it even became incredibly strong, he exclaimed. But I still have a lot of karma left, where should I use it? To upgrade your skill, you select it on the system. Han Sung-yeon wondered what he could do if he upgraded his avatar skills. Han Sung-yeon smiled sinisterly, looking at his clone proudly. As expected, I look very masculine, the clone replied, you also have a nice body. You probably work out a lot. Han Sung-yeon is proud, it is the result of constant efforts. Upon awakening the avatar skill, Han Sung-yeon's consciousness splits into 2, allowing him to move freely. And a new skill Han Sung-yeon gets through upgrading his own skill. It's about filtering out stimulation and emotions and accepting only the information you want. This means that not only can you avoid space sickness, but you also won't feel pain even if your avatar is injured. He tested it by nudging the clone hard, causing it to lie painfully on the floor while he was unharmed. Han Sung-yeon couldn't help but laugh out loud excitedly, then I can explore the other world from the warm corner of my room. He felt like this was a video game and he could control the avatar like playing a game. However, that is not the only change, not one, but you have two copies. Han Sung-yeon wondered if my avatar would increase as I grew older. I was starting to feel confused. I can't just name you guys, I can't just call you Avatar forever, I'm not good at names at all, name. This really confused Han Sung-yeon. Yes, Han Sung-yeon suddenly exclaimed when he saw the ketchup packet and cup of coffee on the table. So he named his two clones after the brands of coffee and ketchup. From now on he was Hans. System immediately updated. Hans general characteristics mind center, super healing, unique characteristics mana affinity, special notes Han Sung-yeon's first avatar. And you will be Heinz, common trait mind center, super healing, unique trait durability, special notes Han Sung-yeon's second avatar. Han Sung-yeon thought helplessly, mana affinity and durability, why are they both so bad? But right after that, he became serious again and stopped doing the main task he had been waiting for so long. Let's go to the outside world. Avatar Heinz carried the bag of trash that Han Sung-yeon had accumulated, his face darkened, Avatar Hans covered his nose in annoyance, while the main owner sat there full of pride. Unifying his mind with his avatar, Han Sung-yeon stood in front of the door that he did not dare to go through. This time he finally walked out the door, taking in the morning sunlight with a bit of discomfort. This time Han Sung-yeon didn't feel worried at all. He thought happily, his mind center was working well. And Avatar Hans must have gone to the other world already. On this side, when Hans moved to another world, it was already dark. He consoled himself, probably nothing would appear in this peaceful forest. As soon as he finished speaking, a black panther appeared out of nowhere, causing Hans to panic. Oh, why did you appear so suddenly? The leopard jumped up and pounced on Hans. Hans quickly pulled out the knife from his waist to block it. The leopard bit the sword and saliva flowed out, making Hans extremely disgusted. Just as Han Sung-yeon predicted, when he unified his mind with Avatar Hans, he entered this world without feeling fear or pain. Hans stepped back. In short, here it is. Hans swung his sword and shouted loudly, injecting magic power. The sword suddenly glowed with spiritual energy, exactly like in the game. The knife stabbed down at the Black Panther, which lay down and blood sprayed out bright red. At this moment, Hans sat down and sighed. Is it because I'm still weak? It's too difficult. If I keep staying here and encounter more monsters, I'll be dead. Suddenly in the distance he discovered a village. At the village, a bald old man happily greeted Hans. Welcome the traveler, I am Malcolm, the village chief. The two of them happily chatted as they walked. Crossing the monster-filled road at this late hour was impressive. That's why my body is full of wounds. Hans hesitantly rubbed the back of his neck. Oh, can I stay in the village for one night? The village chief happily agreed. Okay, we have to help each other. Thank you very much. Hans breathed a sigh of relief. This is the first time I've seen this type of outfit and equipment. You came from far away, right? Haha, the transfer happened while I was wondering about this and that income. Oh, I see. It's been a while since I last met an outsider. I'm glad to come. How about we go have a drink at the village pub? Lying down on the bed, Hans was very happy to be prepared for a spare room. They gave me a spare room too. The longer I stay here, the more warm I feel about this village. It's been a long time since I've had fun with others like this. I even drank wine. Today was really fun. After saying that, he yawned, his eyes closed, preparing to sleep. While he was sleeping, someone appeared in the room. In the current world, Han Sung-yeon is also enjoying beer in a refreshing way. Oh, so cool. To eat chicken after bathing, while traveling in the afterlife. However, while I was enjoying myself, Heinz was working out to take advantage of his endurance skills, which made Han Sung-yeon feel a bit guilty. I don't know when I will mobilize him, so it's good to prepare in advance. Heinz tiredly dragged his tired body from working out so much to the sofa where Han Sung-yeon was enjoying chicken and beer. Han Sung-yeon exclaimed, my clone is working hard, so I have to learn more about the world situation and see what the other world is like. After saying that, he turned on the computer happily. He would play the perfect role of commander. Wait, a bad feeling hit his mind. The system shows a red alert for the first time. The avatar is dead and all the avatar's characteristics and accumulated data have been reset. Han Sung-yeon was surprised. What? Hans is dead. He's in the village. If Hans dies, surely it was caused by that old man. Maybe he put drugs in the drink. Han Sung-yeon suddenly rubbed his head. I was too careless in this strange place. A question suddenly appeared in his mind. Have I reconnected with this character? The scene changes to the village of the other world. The village chief is talking to the person who appeared in Hans's room. I thought he was useful, but he was useless. That's right. Going through the monster forest alone, I thought he had some talent. At this time, Avatar Han's body was just a dry skeleton, but in the end he was just an elite skeleton. When connecting his mind with Hans, Han Sung-yun was surprised to see himself in the form of a skeleton. What is this? Notification system, entity's type value has been changed to zombie, special skill corrupted heart has been acquired. Hans, elite skeleton zombie species, general characteristics super speed recovery mind center, individual characteristics mana affinity. Am I a zombie? Notes have turned into zombies. Due to the influence of the mind center there is no mental corruption. Where the hell is this? Hans looked around in bewilderment. He was stunned at the sight of so many dry bones being displayed here. What were these things? Sometimes. Have they turned this whole village into zombies? Suddenly someone walked in. Hans sat silently in fear. Who was it? That's the guy at the bar yesterday. This guy sighed. How long do I have to be stuck in this remote mountain area? A thought flashed in Hans's head. Were all the people he met at that time dark magicians? The man frowned and looked at the skeleton in disbelief. Hans was worried. Why did he keep looking at me like that? Could he realize that I could move? The man pointed his finger up and said, "What is this thing doing here? No one is doing their job. Move over there." Even with a corrupted heart, that almost scares me. Suddenly the skeleton moved automatically. Oh, I feel a force trying to move me against my will. It's so weak that I could resist if I wanted to, but for now I'll just go with it. Following the man's control, Hans moved to line up with the other skeletons. The man groaned, "Why do I always have to check everything? That old guy is so difficult," and then he left. Hans thought to himself, this power feels very familiar. It's like the power I used to control my zombie body. Maybe it's because of my magic affinity trait. I understand the mechanism of this power. Maybe I can control other zombies too. A week later, in the village inside the room with the zombies, Hans finally controlled another zombie. He sat on stacked wooden boxes looking down at an armored zombie. His eye sockets emitted blue flames. The zombie skeleton moves according to Hans's control. However, it's all still very clumsy. Looking at the zombies moving unsteadily, Hans was helpless. It was unbearable. And I can only control one zombie creature at a time. Is that the limit of an elite skeleton? He thought to himself. Suddenly there was a squeaking sound. A mouse was trying to gnaw on Hans' leg. Hans grabbed it. He held it up by its tail and exclaimed, "Finally caught you, you dirty rat. You're the one who's been scratching my heels all week, right?" Small but incredibly fast. A thought flashed, wait, small and fast, if it wasn't a person but something like this. A blue flame appeared on Hans's fingertip. Maybe I should try it. The mouse screamed loudly. Blood splashed out. The mouse died in Hans's hand. No, it suddenly woke up and moved again even though the wound in its abdomen was still there. Okay, let's go, Alfred. Hans pointed. The mouse rushed forward. The night hearing mouse campaign began. The mouse followed the man in the warehouse the other day. He is opening the door of a room. I will settle the account with you after the old man, with my own hands. Hans thought to himself, this guy is always complaining. What's in that warehouse, zombie? The door opened and the man walked in. Hans was still hesitant about whether to follow or not. Strange purple beams of light spread from inside to outside the door. What the hell is this place? Even though the center of my mind overshadows my emotions, I can still feel my instincts. If I get any closer it will be dangerous. A moment later the man went out. Another guy came to talk. Oh hello, the man is tired. When will this be finished? I feel like I'm losing years of my life every time I come here. The other guy waved his hand. It probably won't be long now. The owner has been there every day. This man is still full of dissatisfaction. Isn't it funny that we stand guard here, when the whole village and every building is protected by a barrier? Who dares to sneak in? Hans heard everything clearly through the mouse. Oh, thank you for the useful information. So what I saw just now was probably the fragment of the immortal king. Where can I get more information? Where is the village chief now? Something pierced the mouse's body, blood splashed out. A man came from the darkness and approached the mouse. It was the village chief. He looked at the mouse. It turned out to be a mouse. Hans on the other side was worried. Damn, did he catch me? The village chief laughed. A zombie. I didn't feel any dark magic from it, but its body was full of dark energy. Maybe it was naturally formed from dark energy. There's only one place around here filled with dark energy. He walked up to the two men who were chatting a moment ago and smiled lightly. Isn't Zeffy on duty today? Both men were startled and quickly shouted, Master. The mouse is really dead now. Sorry Alfred, I swear I will avenge you. Please watch over me. The man angrily kicked on the warehouse door and shouted loudly, who would have thought that a mouse would crawl out of there? It's no big deal, you useless thing. He angrily pointed at a zombie who was unlucky enough to be out of line and shouted, hey, it's peeking out, standing in line. You idiot, stand up straight. Each punch to the head was without mercy. Ha, who do we have here? He grabbed the zombie's hair and sneered, isn't this the arrogant guy who challenged me? Wasn't it you who said you wouldn't let anyone harm your family? His face had a sinister smile on his face. Why don't you say it again? Oh wait, I'm tearing your tongue out. I'm so bored, hunting down villagers one by one is much more interesting. The zombie moved a little at this time. This guy was still bragging in front of the remaining zombies, not realizing when the other zombie had stood up. He kicked his leg at a female zombie jokingly, at least you're happy with your wife now. That's all, other families have children too. The zombie rushed forward quickly, showing his white teeth and biting hard on the man's shoulder. He cried out in pain, clutching his shoulders and sitting on the ground in panic. What was that? Suddenly. He was full of fear and shouted loudly, stop, stop now, but the zombie still had no intention of stopping and approaching him. He raised his hand to move a circle of formation. You bastard. Behind him, the female zombie rushed out, hugged him tightly and covered his mouth. Other zombies also rushed to bite him. All of this is due to Hans's control. This is just the beginning, the victim's revenge has just begun. At the village gate, a young man was blocked by two soldiers from entering. He kept explaining, I'm telling the truth, my brother is in this village. The short-haired soldier waved his hand away, they just left not long ago, why do you think we would let an outsider in so easily? The young man still tried to persuade, so at least let me meet the village chief. The two sides kept arguing back and forth with no end in sight. The village chief finally appeared. What was this noise? I am the village chief. Hello village chief. He was extremely startled by the young man's appearance. Who was he? That's right, this is Heinz, another copy of Han Sung-yun. He replied confidently, I think my twin brother Hans is somewhere around here. On the other side, thanks to Heinz handling the village elder Hans, he easily entered the warehouse where mysterious purple lights emitted. In the room, a fragment floating in space was the cause of the purple light. The surrounding zombies seemed to be under the influence of the floating fragment in a circle surrounding it. Hans thought to himself, this is the fragment of the immortal king, I can feel the boundless power. It's absorbing the dark energy from the zombies around it, doesn't it seem like it's resonating to compensate for what's lacking rather than absorbing? However, everyone here looks incredibly strong, it seems like the place I used to live was a warehouse for discarded items. Hans angrily grabbed the broken piece, he was so annoyed. Don't be picky about food, let's see how bad these snacks can be. A terrible power emanated from the stone, causing Hans's body to convulse around and explode. Over here Heinz is still happily rambling, so we are twins. Meaning we always know where the other person is, the village elder smiled friendlily, ho ho, it was so heart-wrenching. Suddenly he felt something was wrong, something was wrong. He turned into a terrifying demon and rushed away, not forgetting to shout loudly, kill that bastard. Two angry soldiers pointed their spears at Heinz, you bastard. But Heinz had already slipped away, leaving the two soldiers with bewildered faces, wondering where he had gone. Hans on this side was facing a terrible power, the spells continuously appearing made him hold his head in discomfort, a flood of negative emotions rushing in non-stop. Even though it is surrounded by the mind center, it is still this strong. Can anyone endure this and still maintain their reason? Hans raised his head and shouted loudly, everything exploded. The entity notification system has met the conditions and is evolving. Hans came out, his clothes were almost completely burned. Demolic immortal mage entity information. His body and eye sockets emitted dangerous purple smoke. Notable information, its rank has increased, thanks to the power of the immortal king fragment. Part of the dark magic hidden in the fragment has assimilated with the entity. You have acquired the special skill demonic wisdom, granting absolute knowledge and talent in dark magic. The fragment is now in Hans' chest. A guy watching outside the door tiredly lamented, damn that bastard Jeffy, even a zombie mouse couldn't handle it and now I have to deal with this mess. A shrill scream came, you bastard. He quickly reported, yes master, there is nothing unusual here, please check the debris quickly and contact Jeffy. Yes, hey Jeffy, check the debris now, the man shouted loudly inside the warehouse. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, why don't you answer? He panicked when the zombies rushed towards him. Behind Hans is very calm. Hello everyone. The weather is really nice today, isn't it? The man couldn't believe his eyes. It couldn't be, how could he say that? The zombies grabbed him, the man stepped back and used magic to hit the zombies. Get out. The unharmed zombies pushed open the door and rushed out. Hans slowly walked out, people greeted him enthusiastically, but it really hurt, the door had now crushed the man. Hans raised his hand with dark purple flames. I don't know if it was thanks to the demonic intelligence or not, but just by looking at dark magic I already know how to use it. The warehouse exploded. Hey zombies, please appear. Don't let anyone escape, kill everyone in this village. The zombies rushed out to fight. Suddenly a zombie fell at Hans's feet. What is that? You have definitely become a skeleton, the village elder angrily pointed at Hans. He held a skull scepter and his eyes turned dark, the surrounding area burned with dark purple energy. What did you do with the fragment of the immortal king? Hans greeted innocently, long time no see, the village chief, do you still remember me? Well, thanks to you, village chief, I lost my heart, so I took a new heart from the warehouse. The village chief was extremely angry and gritted his teeth. You merged the fragment of the immortal king with such an ordinary body. He raised his hand to perform magic and shouted, die, finger of death. The dark purple smoke rushed towards Hans. Old man, don't you know that you should wait politely and not attack while others are talking? Shut up, I've poured all my resources for a year into this growth process. I'm closer to achieving a power stronger than anything. It can't end just because a skeleton turns into a demolic. Dark spikes, sharp spikes that shot up from the ground and pierced Hans. Isn't this like putting an advanced magic on a beginner's staff? He shouted loudly, so what, I'm the only one who can make it work like this, you can't do it. I don't know how you can resist corrosion, but I will destroy your body and use it as a test subject. Ectoplasm crumbles. Yelling the skill name at the end of every sentence is really annoying. Death, Alfred's enemy. Alfred, the village chief wondered, do you know the people in this village? Do you already know them all? Suddenly, Hans's dark magic attacked him from behind. No, the village chief realized, Hans was becoming unusually familiar with dark magic due to the power of the shard. I can't waste any more time here. Contract of destruction. On this side, the villagers are still having difficulty dealing with the zombies. Suddenly, one guy seemed to be under a spell, his eyes were black, purple was coming out of his mouth. One after another, many people are like that, the souls of dark magicians are being drained. The crown of the broken man. The resting place of the dead is all because of this village chief. He amplified his power at the expense of the souls of dark magicians. The old man is getting more and more crazy, even if you can withstand the power of the fragment, but now die the fire of the soul that penetrates the darkness. But with just one point of Hans's finger, a light pierced his heart, all the strength of his chanting just now completely disappeared. Hans said sarcastically, I almost fell asleep, what's the name, it's so long, let's end this. Hans approached him and faced him with a sarcastic look, anyway, thanks to you I'm learning dark magic very well. He collapsed, dying like this was useless. Hans looked up at the sky, are you watching? I have avenged you, so rest in peace, Alfred. The mouse liked it. Scene 1, a magnificent palace. A girl is praying in front of a large statue. Something flashed in her mind. The girl stepped out and called out, Bishop Martin. Ah, have you finished your prayers, Saint Restar? Yes, can I ask you to contact the others? A sign of the immortal king's resurrection has been detected from the west. The panicked bishop, the immortal king, understood I would convene a meeting immediately. The immortal king, his resurrection, who plunged the continent into fear hundreds of years ago. I won't let anything like that happen again, Riotstar said to himself. On this side, Hans faced heavy damage after the battle. The zombies were lying on the ground. The damage was really heavy. There were a few hundred zombies, but they were almost all wiped out. Anyway, if the army is reduced, you just need to replenish it. The beauty of being a dark magician is that you can use corpses to replenish the army. Now I have to worry about this arm. One of Hans's arm bones was broken from the fight with the village chief. He fumbled around. Looks pretty good. Hans took the arm of a zombie using super healing activation attached to his hand. Everything is perfect again, let's start adding troops. Hans started using magic on a zombie. You become my servant. The immortal king's fragment bestows power, poisoning the remaining magical energy in the body and erasing fragments of memories. Suddenly the skeleton broke, Hans was confused. Oh, that didn't work. After many tries, Hans finally figured out how to restore the zombies. He looked down at the village elder's body and had an interesting thought. So, should I turn him into a zombie with a soul and try to extract information from him? Having said that, he was about to perform magic, but at this moment Hans realized, what is this? This old man has no soul left. It seemed like his soul had been artificially extracted through this magic circle. A magic circle appeared on the village chief's chest. This was probably some kind of security measure from the secret organization. Well, since they carried out such a large operation, it would be strange if they didn't try to take precautions, but it's okay, I can use his body. Good for turning him into a high-ranking zombie, both conscious and with good fighting skills. Hans uses magic to turn the village chief into a zombie, poisoning the remaining magical energy in his body. Gather Malcolm's remaining thoughts and implant the ego. A lot of white smoke moved into the village chief's mouth and his body gradually transformed into a skeleton. The death mage has formed. I await your command. Oh, it can speak. It's not conscious but can also speak. Your name is Malcolm from now on, please obey me. Answer, bastard. He angrily hit Malcolm on the head. Yes. He has no memory of his previous life, but that doesn't mean the crimes he committed have disappeared. I will continue to torture him from now on. Ho ho. Hey Malcolm, yes. That stick looks quite nice. Malcolm trembled. Finally, the staff is in Hans's possession. The zombie bones were stacked in a big pile. Hans noticed the zombie with a green head and a few sparse strands of hair. That zombie was the zombie that killed Jeffy with him. He patted its head, wishing you eternal rest with your family. Then he reached out and burned them all. In the real world, Han Sung-yun finished eating his fried chicken. Ah, I'm so full, the food there is really delicious. He took out his phone to search, to see what the price of gold was like these days. In Hans's body, he couldn't help but be surprised at the whole treasure trove of gold that the village chiefs kept, because it was said to be occupied by witches. There was a lot of gold. He didn't expect them to accumulate so much wealth. Just take a look at the loot. Summon Hans. Hans appeared with great power. Han Sung-yun shouted nervously, cancel the summon. He sat on the ground panting, thinking he was about to die. The surrounding tables and chairs were also affected by that terrible force and fell everywhere. Han Sung-yun worriedly scratched his head. What should I do? I have to summon Hans, or should I enhance my special skills first? Karma shop. The Karma display system owns 792,000. Oh, I earned more than expected. Last time I checked I only had a little over 400,000. As your special skills develop, the number of incarnations you can have will increase. Your spiritual power has exceeded the standard. You have acquired the skill Serenity. Serenity prevents the mind from being affected by external stimuli and protects from mental attacks. Change scene of Han Sung-yun diligently picking up each gold bar into his bag. He shyly looked towards Hans and thought, I'm still fine even though I'm standing next to Hans, unlike the seemingly peaceful mind center that can be applied to the main body as well. Holding the bag of gold in my hand, it's strange that I always seem to get the skills I need. Well, let's go sell gold. At the gold shop, in front of the pile of gold piled high on the table, the three employees could not hide their surprise. Han Sung-yun said loudly, please send it all to my account. When Han Sung-yun left, the staff came to the door to say hello. Thank you for your support, please keep up the good work. Walking on the street, Han Sung-yun thought to himself, in case of emergency, I hid Hans in the dark with dark magic. Even put a mask on him in case he had to summon an equally ugly mask. Han Sung-yun laughed. It seemed like he was worrying too much, but behind him he suddenly exploded. Han Sung-yun was stunned. A guy with a black mask and a big wolf, they got a big trick today, they just completed a robbery at a gold store. The wolf was proud. Who would have thought that this remote place would have so much gold? The masked man urged, let's run away to show off later. I knew it. Both of them rushed away like arrows. The screams were silent. The villain quickly called someone to come. Evil people, those who take advantage of the awakened power to commit crimes. There are guardians to protect citizens from such evils, but Han Sung-yun was stunned as he recalled the painful memories. Go away. The wolf punched Han Sung-yun hard in the face. Han Sung-yun covered his face in anger. The guardians will probably chase them. I can't do anything. The two thieves rushed off complacently. While everything was going according to plan, there was plenty of time as it took 3 minutes for the guards to arrive. We just need to enter the gate. Wait, isn't she here? The confused wolf shouted loudly. Portal. A girl was lying on the ground. He helped the girl up and asked her, please calm down. What's wrong with you? Wolf, look, the black masked man saw something. It's Hans. The wolf still doesn't know what horror is waiting for them. Someone, you are the guardian. That bastard is not the guardian. Han Sung-yun can't do anything, but Hans can. Zombies appear. Over here, hurry up, a man shouted loudly, and right behind him was a woman and another man. They are the Korean Guardian Association. All three are frantically chasing after two gold thieves, this time intending to let them escape again. But when they arrived, the thieves were lying on the ground. Someone fought with the villains and then disappeared. It hasn't been long since he was probably still around. Everyone look around, the man ordered. A terrifying black smoke appeared behind the footprints. Ah was so refreshed, Han Sung-yun stretched happily after taking care of the villains. Sometimes it's nice to relieve stress like this. He didn't notice the difference behind his footsteps, the darkness had followed him. In the other world, Han Sung-yun's second avatar Heinz, personal characteristics of endurance, was standing in front of the gate of a town, finally arriving. The activity of the mind center helps Han Sung-yun. Hans and Heinz all have the same memories and experiences. This town is the place that the village chief once mentioned to Hans when he were drinking in that village before he turned him into a dry skeleton. Heinz thought to himself, a town that really goes up to the east is real. Malcolm, that old man is not lying. Ha, it's finally time to show off to the other world, Heinz, but the surrounding scenery was dilapidated and deserted without a soul in sight. Why is the town so deserted? Heinz wondered. They don't even check anything, nor do they care about strangers. Are you kidding? At an alley corner, two large men were blocking the path of a little girl. The bald man fiercely pointed his finger at the girl. I warned you. The frightened girl clasped her hands and begged, I'm sorry, please give me a little more time. Remember, the two of you must pay us 2 silver coins within 3 days. If we don't bring it to you within a few days, we won't forgive you. City thugs and an exploited little girl, Heinz thought, have nothing to do with me. The girl suddenly rushed at Heinz. Wow. After finishing, he quickly bowed and apologized. Sorry, I'm sorry. Hey kid, do you know this town well? Heinz thought to himself, anyway I need a tour guide. The girl looked at Heinz suspiciously. Who are you? Brother, I'm about to be your boss. I proudly presented 2 silver coins. The girl's eyes are shining. So let's discuss working conditions. So the girl took Heinz on a tour of the town. It was already evening. The girl pointed at a building. This place would be one of the best places for him to stay. How do you like it? This girl's name is Diana. She said that she had earned a little money to take care of her younger brother who was sick after losing his parents. She also said that she met me when she was in trouble because she couldn't pay the tribute. Heinz gave Diana 2 coins. Okay, come see me tomorrow morning. She will become my tour guide every day for 2 silver coins. Heinz leaned back on the bed and thought to himself, let's just pretend that I'm doing a good job. Even if I get cheated, let's go to sleep. The next morning, because the bed was so uncomfortable that Heinz could not sleep, he groped out of the room early in the morning. Looking through the window, Heinz was surprised to see how long Diana had been sitting outside the door. Seeing Heinz, Diana cheerfully greeting him, he shouted loudly, why have you been waiting for me since so early in the morning? The two sat at the dining table. Heinz yawned and lazily said, don't wait for him so early until noon. Diana chewed a mouthful of food and happily replied, yes sir. Heinz is helpless. I told you I'm not you. By the way, have you finished eating? Diana pointed at the unfinished food on Heinz's plate. Oh well, if you want to eat more, just eat. Diana happily put the piece of bread in her bag and replied, thanking him. The name of this town is Azanthu, a small town located in the west of the kingdom of Talia. It looked like a normal medieval town. Heinz toured and evaluated. But this symbol was painted everywhere. He reached out and touched the dark red symbol on the wall, but it didn't look like paint. It's blood, Diana said. Really? Let me see, let me sniff it. Yesterday you ate soup with deer meat, right? Heinz looked at Diana in surprise. Oh, how did you know? She happily pointed at her nose. She has a very good sense of smell. It's interesting that her sense of smell is so good that I would believe it if she called it a special ability. But what is that symbol? Well, it is the symbol of the Varkolok organization that manages this road. That organization, while talking to Diana, suddenly stopped. Heinz wondered, what's wrong? This smell. What do you smell? It's the smell of toast. You must try one if you come to this town. Heinz is completely helpless. I just finished eating. I can eat everything. It seems it's not the smell of toast. A corpse, it's the smell of blood. Is Diana lying? A few days later, Heinz stood against the wall waiting for Diana, whom she was never late. Was there something wrong? Hey man, someone came to talk to Heinz. It turned out that the two guys had exploited Diana when Heinz just came into town and saw them. The bald guy said, "Let's talk, is it time already?" Heinz thought worriedly. He held out a handful of silver coins in a flattering voice. "Please accept this, it's just a small amount of money but I hope it helps in maintaining public order." These two guys are extremely proud, cough cough, we really understand each other very well. Heinz thought to himself that he brought them along to use at a time like this. He has the same symbol as I saw on the wall. Remembering Diana's words, "Don't hang around in the alleys, it's best to leave the city as soon as possible." Wow, how much they harassed her and she was so afraid of them. After the two guys turned around and left, the black-haired guy asked, "Brother, why did you take that kid? I didn't know that we bastards were just following orders." "Kid, don't tell me these bastards took Diana." "Wait," Heinz shouted. "Damn, if it's dangerous I'll cancel the summon." He thought to himself, "I want to ask." "Uncle, Diana." Heinz was bewildered when he saw Diana. The two guys behind him had angry faces. "So, what is our friend curious about?" Heinz was full of fear. "Oh, I was about to ask if the silver coins I gave were enough, sir." As a result, those two guys took all the money in Heinz's bag. "Hey, it's been a long time since you showed up. Do you know how much money I spent looking for you? There's no food for you today." Diana sobbed. Her brother had disappeared. "Recently she got better because she was full thanks to the food you gave her, but I didn't see her anywhere." Heinz remembered the conversation between the two exploiters. Could it be that this was the one those big guys were talking about? "Is it Varkolok? What are the chances of them arresting your brother? I heard them talking about arresting a child or something." Diana was startled by Heinz's words. She held her head in despair. "No." Heinz looked confused. "Don't worry too much, if they ask for ransom I will pay it for you." If they really capture her, Aaron will die. What they want is blood, not money." "Why is blood? This town is a food warehouse for vampires." The smell of dark mana is so strong." A person standing on the roof of the village after Hans's zombie battle with the village chiefs. He had large, prominent wings. Was there an internal conflict over the fragment of the immortal king? What a pity, I was planning to take it away when it was fully grown. We don't know who robbed them, but we know where they went. We'll catch up with them soon. He is the dragon. Vampires, yes, even the Varkolaks, all the organizations are run by vampires. Even if no one escaped from the city, Diana sobbed. We just try our best every day to cling to life in every way. Hahu, in the end you and I will be eaten here. Heinz hugged Diana's cheeks and comforted her. Calm down, Diana. If so, we don't have much time left. Do you know where they can take you? Do you want to help? It can't be too dangerous. Heinz's face was full of sinister looks. Don't worry. I'm an expert in dealing with those bastards. The mission to help the unfortunate girl begins. At a pub, the two hoodlums from earlier were drinking and gambling with another guy. All in. Wait a minute, where did a guy in debt like you get this money? The bald guy said proudly. I emptied the pockets of an idiot from the outside. Is that so? Bang! At this moment Heinz pushed open the door and entered. The guy sitting with the hoodlums had a grimace on his face. What the hell are you? Wait, the black-haired guy stood up. Hey, that's the guy out there that we scammed money from. He proudly patted Heinz's head. It looks like he came back to donate more. Ha, come share with us, guys. How did you bypass the security guards out there and bribe them? But they didn't know that the guy outside was beaten to the point of unconsciousness. Heinz said seriously, I won't ask again. Where did you take that boy you mentioned earlier? The black-haired guy was angry. You're laughing, you're crazy. Do you know who you're messing with right now? Heinz already has a knife behind his back. Without waiting for the black-haired man to finish his sentence, Heinz quickly stabbed the knife into his neck. I know exactly what kind of scum you are, the kind that preys on other people's families to satisfy your greed. Trash. Heinz took back the knife, blood splattered and the black-haired man fell down. One man was finished, there were two more left. Only then did the other two guys react and pounced with knives. What the hell is he? Do you know where you are? I have the skills to have a strong body and quick recovery. This game is interesting. Heinz is full of strength, holding the knife and rushing up. The hooded man stabbed Heinz in the waist. Heinz's shirt was torn but the blade couldn't penetrate. The boss was trembling. Why the hell couldn't the blade penetrate? Heinz used the hilt of the knife to hit the hooded man's head so hard that he choked out blood and fell to the ground. Heinz was full of pride. You idiot, this is an anti-boxing suit made in Korea. Behind him, the bald guy tried to sneak attack on Heinz. He quickly reacted. A shield appeared to block the bald man's hammer. He was extremely frightened. A magical barrier. How did he get the magic item? Before he could recover from his shock, Heinz's knife stabbed into his chest. Fortunately, I brought many protective items with me. Phew, the bald man lay motionless on the ground. I brought too many magic items and haven't used half of them yet. What a noise, a whole bunch of thugs came down from the stairs, holding weapons. Who is that guy? They all rushed towards Heinz. Oh my god, this guy has such a big mouth, Heinz thought to himself. 6, 7, 8. Humph, what a big deal, everyone has been defeated. I don't want to count anymore. He pulled out the knife that was stuck in his shoulder. I forgot where I was. The shoulder wound is healing itself by the system, big guy. Where is the kid you brought in today? Heinz kicked one guy's head hard and shouted, this guy is still stubborn. Cough, you think I will tell you easily. You're an outsider, right? I don't know who pushed you to do this, but you'll regret it. The boss is coming. When he sees this, your life is over. Thank you for telling me, and you should take care of your life first. Then Heinz kicked him hard in the face. At this time Heinz found Diana's sister in a room. You are Aaron, right? Seeing someone coming in, the boy was scared. Forgive me, forgive me. Heinz, come closer, don't be afraid, I came to save you as your sister said, you know my sister. At this time there was a bat flying towards the building. Yes, I'll explain in detail when we leave here. Let's go. The bat landed at the window. Who gave you permission to touch my food? That's not an ordinary bat but a vampire. Are you playing with my food? Are you from a fateful contract? Asked Vampire Heinz. Or are you that child's brother? You know what happens when you go against us, right? Heinz stopped in front of the boy. I'm just a bystander being blackmailed by your subordinates. I happened to help this boy when I met him. Is that so? Boring. From the vampire's hand appeared streaks of red blood like a brilliant rose. He calmly said, I like to eat children, die. The blood streaks spread quickly into large jets of blood that shot towards Heinz and the baby. Heinz held the baby, carefully. Boom, there was a loud explosion, the floor collapsed, Heinz and the boy fell to the floor, alcohol spilled everywhere. Heinz quickly sat up, the strong smell of alcohol was that a barrel of wine. Aaron, are you okay? Are you injured anywhere? He helped the boy up. This is your chance to quickly go out, you can dodge it. Faster than I thought before the meal, this would be a good warm-up, the vampire said, then raised his hand with long sharp claws and rushed forward. Heinz pushed Aaron back and shouted, run away, no matter what happens, don't come back. Then Heinz quickly used his sword to block the vampire's attack. His sharp hand stabbed Heinz's chest, causing blood to spurt out. Your body is sturdy and your resilience is impressive. Heinz gritted his teeth and sweated profusely. The difference in strength between us was too great. The vampire licked his lips and smiled. You're not on the menu, but it could be a delicious dish. Heinz thought to himself, if he hadn't been joking with me I would have died. But I can. Heinz raised his fist tremblingly. Seeing that, the vampire without hesitation cut off one of Heinz's arms. Oh god, I'll have to bone you a bit before eating. Your useless resistance is over. Now you will pay dearly for it. Then he prepared to bite Heinz's neck. Heinz thought to himself that when there was a difference in strength. Then let's die together. Heinz immediately bit the gold ring hidden in his mouth. The fire broke out. The vampire was startled. This is a fire magic tool. When did you hide it in your mouth? When he threw me to the ground. I had an idea when I saw alcohol spilling all over the floor. I can turn things around with this. Heinz pushed the vampire. Are you crazy? If the fire spreads to the floor, I will burn to death too. Die. The vampire shouted loudly, then waved his hand and pushed Heinz away, sneering and sneering. Weak meat. What? Before he could react, Heinz slammed his head against his head. The vampire fell. Heinz rushed forward. You said he had a sturdy body and good recovery ability. I was just a delicious treat. He and the fire rushed at him. The frightened vampire shouted loudly, no, don't, stop. Boom, a huge explosion. The house is being destroyed in the fire. Wow, that's unexpected. It still survives in this state. Being too strong is also harmful. Right now, Heinz's body is gradually being burned. His body has split into two, but his consciousness is still completely stable. Anyway, the mission to help the poor girl is completed. Outside, the two Diana sisters looked at the house engulfed in flames and called out, brother. The system displays a notification. Avatar Heinz has died. Resurrection time is 7 days. Scene change, a polished black shoe. That's it. Oh yeah. Please leave the money on the table. The man finished talking and left. Diana bowed and smiled. Yes, thank you. It seems that after everything, she has a stable job as a shoe shiner. While raising her hand to breathe, someone suddenly asked Diana from behind, "Can I have some too?" Diana immediately returned to her radiant state. "Oh, of course, please, sit down." Hey, she hugged the man happily. "Are you okay? That's Heinz." Heinz patted her head happily. Of course he was okay, he looked like someone who could easily be defeated. That's a lie, this time my avatar is really dead, Heinz thought. It took a whole week to revive, Diana would be very worried. So let's try a new avatar. So in the real world Han Sung-yeon created a new avatar. From now on you are Heinz 2 acceleration feature, especially Han Sung-yeon's third avatar. Returning to the virtual world, Heinz thought to himself, I rushed here with an old avatar, I wonder if he will realize that this is someone else. Diana hugged Heinz happily, it was definitely him. Just like before, the soul's flavor remained unchanged, Diana could actually perceive souls. She looked up at Heinz with a wry smile, you don't come here anymore, that vampire must be looking for you everywhere. Heinz comforted the girl, come on, don't worry, he has already calculated everything, having immortal King Hans on the vampire's side is no big deal. A bat appeared again in front of a house. In the room where Heinz was tinkering with the system, it seems like I have to wait 10 days for the cooldown of reincarnating from another world to end. It will take longer than I thought, but okay. The bat has now flown closer to the window of Heinz's room. It immediately turned into a vampire and grabbed Heinz's neck from behind. This is because of you, right? The tracks from the forest clearly led here, perhaps the vampires had already discovered it. In the territory of that slain vampire, is there a foreigner staying? Heinz clearly looked worried, he had just grabbed his neck but he couldn't move, this guy was also a monster. But I cannot sense dark magic nor smell the blood of my kind. What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying. Oh, you say you don't know, the vampire bared his sharp teeth, you don't know, he bit Heinz's neck. The vampire licked the blood from his lips and said, then let me ask again, now you can't lie anymore. The bite caused Heinz extreme pain, revealing 2 sharp fang marks on his neck. What the hell, why did this happen again? The system displays, your race has been changed to vampire. Heinz had now collapsed, the vampire continued to question, now I will ask again. The Blood Remnant clan special skill system has been achieved, and the quick recovery skill has been changed to regeneration. The vampire with terrifying red eyes questioned Heinz, you really have nothing to do with the contract to reverse fate, Heinz can feel this force, it is authority. My blood is screaming to serve the high-ranking vampire, he replied, no sir, I'm just a traveler. Even though he was under the vampire's manipulation, his ears were now pointed and his fangs were long, looking like a vampire's roar, but he still secretly thought he could handle it. The mind center is acting as a filter, filtering out the submissive instincts in his bloodstream. Well, it seems I was wrong, the vampire turned away disappointed, now according to me we have work to do. Okay, I'll go along and find more information. Scene change at the Barkozlok clan's Azanta branch headquarters. The vampire led Heinz into the palace, everyone around him bowed to him, Sir Wyrick, long time no see Sir Wyrick. The vampires whispered, don't say this is Mr. Wyrick's new blood child, what was he thinking when he accepted such a lowly creature? A beautiful female vampire with silver hair holding a glass of wine enthusiastically hugged Heinz, it's been a long time since we had a new blood child. She smiled and greeted Heinz, I'm Rosilica, what's your name? Heinz thought to himself, who is this drunk guy? He replied to her, oh I'm Heinz, nice to meet you. She raised the glass towards Heinz and said, don't be so stiff, we're all blood children, right? Here, drink some of this fresh blood, I have to drink it to avoid suspicion. Heinz held the glass of red blood in his hand and slowly brought it to his mouth. Before the glass of blood, he clearly felt the crazy bloodlust inside his body. Unfortunately, even with herbs, his mind still had such bloodthirst. If you drink it right away, there's too much of a risk that you'll block your sense of taste and smell before drinking. After finishing the glass of blood, he held it out to the female vampire, thanking him for the glass of blood. She laughed happily, hey you're exactly my type, if you were human I would have sucked you clean, ha ha you just call me blood so what is it? Do you really know nothing about the vampire hierarchy? We blood children are like human knights, pure blood vampires like Sir Wyrick are nobles. The true blood vampires, the head of the clan is the royal family and there are also holy blood vampires who are similar to our beliefs. Beliefs, Heinz wondered, are our ancestors whom we must absolutely follow. Upstairs, the vampire Wyrick tapped his spoon on his wine glass, paying attention to everyone. Now that everyone is present, we will begin. The immortal king's fragment was stolen by the heaven-reversing covenant. Standing next to Wyrick is a female vampire Parita who is a pure-blood vampire and another named Tiapal who is also a pure-blood vampire. Wyrick is still continuing to talk. We confirmed that it was heading towards this city, but at some point it disappeared without a trace. It is likely that it has already entered the city. Hein suddenly spoke up, the fragment of the immortal king. Oh, you don't know about it. The silver-haired female vampire explained, some dark magicians in a nearby village had nurtured a fragment of the immortal king. Heinz thought to himself, so those were the covenant that overturned heaven. From today on, thoroughly investigate the area assigned to you and report immediately if there is anything suspicious. The investigation begins. Heinz goes with the silver-haired female vampire in town. She lamented as she walked, going out during the day will burn our skin. Heinz is in the same situation. Yes, I can feel my strength draining under the sunlight. Even the pure-blooded Lady Parita is out looking for us. We can't be lazy. It's funny how troublesome it is when the fragment disappears. It seems like moving our fragment here is useless. Wait, our fragment? Heinz wondered, do you also have a fragment of the immortal king here? The female vampire replied, yes, after the dark magicians finished cultivating the fragment they said they would merge it with our fragment. Heinz thought to himself, how lucky, now there should be only one pure vampire guarding the fragment. Where is the fragment? Do you know where that fragment is? He grabbed her and asked. She smiled and replied, ha ha, how could a lowly person like me know? I think you know, Diana replied while eating. Heinz was surprised, huh? The fragment of the immortal king, I think I know where it is. What? Do you know where the fragments of the immortal king are? Diana calmly replied, yes, I'm not sure because this happened a long time ago, but about a year ago I did a job cleaning graves. Every Friday night, members of the Varkolok organization visit the stone chamber in the mausoleum. But every time they entered it, an extremely terrible and evil smell came from inside. This is worth investigating, Heinz thought. The boy also continued, so that's why I told you not to go near the grave. Heinz stood up and prepared to leave. Thank you for this valuable information, I will investigate myself, you two just hide carefully. Diana grabbed Heinz's sleeve, hey, but your smell is a bit unusual today. Heinz shyly opened his mouth to reveal his sharp fangs. It's true that I can't see past your nose, that's right. Don't worry, this won't affect you. Diana's face was full of fear, then she said fearfully, if you have any trouble, you can drink some of my blood. She raised her hand towards Heinz. But don't go too far, just a little. Heinz froze. I smacked her on the head, you really know how to talk. Come on, tell me where that terrible smell is coming from. At the dark night at the grave site, there was the sound of someone shouting, stand up straight, ah. Do you want to die? A man holding a sword was holding a wound in his hand in fear. The vampire smiled and pointed at him, once again, if you can cut me even once I will release you safely. Ah, the man trembled as he held up the sword. He rushed at the vampire, ah. Humph, how rude. The vampire raised his fist and blood shot out around his hand. Streams of blood were like ropes binding the man raising his sword. The jets of blood pierced his flesh. No. He became a zombie? No. Really boring. He turned around and ordered a demon to clean up that trash and bring another stronger victim. Clearly, Sir Tiapal, the demon came to drag down the man who was floating on the blood threads. Suddenly he saw something, someone. Countless human skeletons rushed from nowhere. Why did these dirty corpses get in here? The vampire was angry. He ordered the demons and servants to immediately clean up these disgusting things, and the demons rushed up. The zombies also rushed forward with weapons. A dark blue-black smoke appeared, forming giant spikes, which was a sign of the appearance of the Hans fruit. Sharp spikes pierced the vampire's body. He angrily asked, who are you? A summoner from the Oath of Resistance. How do you know this place? Hans stood there with his hand emitting dark power, remaining silent. It seems like you don't intend to say anything. That's okay. I'll ask again after keeping only your head. Blood shot out from his arm again. The blood streaks are his fighting power. The zombies suffered his attack and their bones separated. Hans angrily clenched his fist, holding my head. The separated zombie body suddenly sprouted sharp spikes. Okay, just try it. Hans's hands came up from the ground and grabbed the vampire. Outside the tomb, the demon minions are doing their best to fight off the zombies. A vampire screams, those loyal to Lord Wyrick have broken through the perimeter, then I go in first to support you, Sir Tiapal. Tiapol ran out and brushed past Heinz. Please focus on supporting me, that guy is quite strong, you should wait until reinforcements arrive. Suddenly blood splashed out. Why is there blood on my body like this? It's Heinz biting Tiapol's shoulder. The vampire looked at Heinz angrily. Are you crazy? Black smoke poured out from his hand. This is dark magic between you and that guy, how is this possible? In front of Hans was approaching, he shouted in fear. Stop drinking the blood of your fellow man, why is this a crime that pollutes the mind? Ah, his blood had now been drained by Heinz, his body had become a dry corpse, crumpling to the ground. No. Impurity of the mind does not affect us at all. The system informs that the person possessing the bloodline will acquire the blood magic skill. Well done with this new skill. I can break this blood barrier. Blood spurts shot out from Heinz's hand, but there's not enough time, Hans here replied. Heinz laughed, in that case I will smash it. A big explosion. Found it, this is it. Second fragment of the Immortal King. Let's do it, Hans reached out and picked up the broken piece. Hans put it in his chest, he was so overwhelmed. Even filtering out negative thoughts with the fragmentary mind still contains too much darkness. Concentrate all the spiritual power of the beings on Hans. Ah, terrifying power flew from the roof. The vampire was stunned. What is this smoke? Am I already late? In the black smoke Hans rose and floated in front of the bright moonlight. The vampires raised their hands together, and there they shot, jets of blood shooting out. They stabbed into Hans's body. But it seems unharmed. Hans swung his hand with terrible force and the vampire standing in front was knocked down. The vampire Wyrick couldn't believe it, that figure was. The Regeneration skill display system has evolved into a special immortal skill. You acquire special skills, forbidden knowledge, and archlich entity skills. Oh my god, is there a fire? A knight in armor on horseback with an entourage is standing in a forest right near the city. The power of the Immortal King is so terrifying that the ashes spread outside the city into the forest where they were standing. The entourage looked up at the crowd, that place was definitely very close to Azanthu Citadel. The entourage coughed and choked. The knight reached out and picked up a piece of paper and said, turn around, I will return to the church immediately and must report this to the saint. This is not ordinary ashes, but a sign of the Immortal King's resurrection. On this side, Wyrick and the vampires still stood stunned, unable to believe that they were 5 times stronger, no 10 times. The system displays the undead archlich strain Hans. With the power of the Immortal King's fragment, Hans' level has increased and the hidden dark magic has become many times stronger. As long as the source of the dark magic has not been destroyed, Hans will continuously revive. Attributed to evil wisdom and forbidden knowledge, Hans has an extremely profound understanding of black magic and has inherited all the secrets and knowledge. Hans raised his skull staff towards the vampires. A thick black smoke enveloped them. The smoke is to deceive stars. What is the plan? The vampire spoke up. Mr. Wyrick first needed to get out of here and, before he could finish his sentence, a hand grabbed him and dragged him into the darkness. Wyrick panicked, damn it, black smoke surrounded him. They turned into sharp spikes that pierced Wyrick's body, blood splashing out. Ah, he cried out in pain. Hans came closer, you are definitely stronger than the other purebloods. Hans faced the vampire, but now you are just a bag of blood. The vampire gritted his teeth, you have completely absorbed this suppressed magic power, huh? How can you bear it alone? Somehow, Heinz approached behind him. Because I'm not alone, he said and bit hard on the vampire's neck. The vampire fell down. The body display system has met the conditions and is being developed, and the low-level bloodline special skills have evolved into pure bloodline. Heinz wiped his mouth smugly. It's great that I've become pure blood and cannibalism can really help me level up even faster. Just wait there, we vampires will eat all of you. Miss Parita, what should I do? The vampires have now fled into the forest. The silver-haired female vampire was silky smooth. If Miss Parita was here, I wouldn't have been defeated so easily, Parita calmly replied. Even if Mr. Wyrick was defeated, the opponent would not be an ordinary person. In the ashes, there is still very strong magic power, our enemies are too overwhelming. Besides, the sun is about to rise, so quickly return to base to call for help. Scene change, a man is running away, damn it. He leaned his arms against the wall and panted, they weren't chasing anymore, were those stupid vampires acting so noble and then being wiped out the next minute, trusting them to follow them was so troublesome. Hans suddenly appeared from the darkness and grabbed his hand, a pitiful scream rang out. Hans returned to the city to deal with the remnants of Arkolok. And Heinz hired a small merchant guild to leave the city with Diana and her sisters. Heinz is frying a delicious piece of meat, now we'll sprinkle pepper on it, here comes the special steak. Diana's two sisters widened their eyes and looked hungry. Wow. It's delicious, thank you, please eat a lot. Perhaps because they had left the dangerous city, the two children's faces were much brighter. Hans asked Diana, does your uncle have a store in Eastern Lapellis? Yes. Diana is shy, but God doesn't know if he wants us to come, don't worry. Hans thought to himself, if that doesn't work, I'll just give them a big allowance and that's it. I also like the children, so the thought of having to leave them makes me feel a bit sad. I don't know how long it's been since I've had this feeling, since coming here, I've changed a lot. Uncle, Diana asked worriedly, are you okay or do you have low blood sugar? Heinz smiled and rubbed his stomach. Ha ha, it's okay, he's already full, I took care of all the remaining vampires in the village, Heinz thought. Meanwhile, Hans is turning the corpses into undead. Hurry inside, this extra space is as convenient as a bottomless bag, the vampire corpses are walking through the skull gate one after another. The attribute of forbidden knowledge and evil wisdom also resonate, so if I learn more, I can open up extra space on Earth. There was some vampire controlling the blood jets above Hans. It formed an arrow that pierced straight into Hans's body. A female vampire, you're still wandering around our city, you're underestimating us. By the way, are you really the person of the Oath of War? Following her are vampires who cover their faces with scarves. She is over Varkoslok, a pureblood vampire. That's right, I am Hans, the man who made the oath to declare war, Hans thought to himself. Since he thought so, I can only thank him. Lying that their lair was attacked by someone else turned to ashes, didn't you steal the piece of the immortal king and run away? Her blood turned into an axe blade, well it doesn't matter. You're about to die anyway, she rushed down with the axe and slashed at Hans. Almost. The female vampire couldn't help but be surprised, with such great strength, a pureblood vampire wouldn't be able to compete with her. Hans stepped back and bumped into a partition. A blood barrier is surrounding the two of them. Do you think I will let you escape easily? Our clan's most talented blood mages have created a shield. Hans touched the barrier and thought, if I try, I can still break it, but I need a little more time to get used to this new power. The two blood transfer wizards formed a giant hand and rushed towards Hans. I will make your bones melt and personally pull out every piece of your bone. Then there is only one way, Hans said, remember I am Hans of the Oath of War, meeting me is your demise now I will retreat but next time I will come to find you. The mark of the villain who escaped the battle was so dramatic, Hans stopped summoning. Hans just disappeared, what did he just say, it's so bland. The female vampire panicked, how could he escape our shield? At this time a magician of the vampires was shot by an arrow. He fell down to the female vampire. She looked at the arrow and realized that this was the paladin's silver arrow. Another guy shouted loudly, Mr. Ovor has something big going on with the Templar Knights. They are surrounding the tomb and coming to us. The knight is now approaching with a group of soldiers in armor on horseback. Damn lich. Maybe it's just because of this that he stays in the city and holds us back, you cunning bastard no matter where you run. The female vampire shouted angrily, I will definitely come and kill you Hans. In the real world, Han Sung-yun breathed a sigh of relief. Hans was lying on the ground helplessly. I told you that stopping the summoning was cheating. Fu remember I am the embodiment of death oath declaration of war Hans. Ah, Han Sung-yun covered his face, remembering the words he said in front of the vampires. What the hell is that villain story? I'm so embarrassed. Why do I say that? I'm crazy. Next to me Hans is taking my head down to clean it. Actually, I also feel a little proud, Hans said. I single-handedly took on an entire group of evil vampires to save a weak girl in this entire city. Saying this makes me feel like a hero. Okay, such a big contribution must have accumulated a ton of merit points, right? Han Sung-yun went to the system, the merit store. Han Sung-yun was stunned as he looked at the 700,000 points on the system. I remember spending it all on the previous upgrade, but how can I have so many points left? Maybe separating black mages and vampires would have worked. Should I enhance my unique skill again? Han Sung-yun pressed the button on the system. Notification system, the limit for summoning entities has increased. Does this increased number of entities have any new skills? You have acquired a special personality skill, just as I thought. I wonder if this personality skill is similar to calming down and let's see. Personality special skills use an essence like a blood vessel containing a person's emotions. Unique skills will develop according to the user's needs, so the system has already determined that I need this skill, now I understand why I have it. Han Sung-yun recalls, I got to know strangers and helped them defeat strong enemies while I was the one who locked myself in my room for 2 years. I was able to do that actually because. Anyway, to me it's all just a game, not real. But in reality, I'm still just inside 4 walls. The reality I have been avoiding for so long is right before my eyes. The loneliness, sadness, and anger I repressed all accumulate into negative emotions. Han Sung-yun spoke, Hans. Transmit those stagnant emotions into the bloodstream. Han Sung-yun's emotions are transmitted into Han's body. It feels really refreshing, but it seems like those feelings have never disappeared, they're just kept hidden in a drawer. Han Sung-yun looked at Hans and thought, I wonder if it's okay for Hans to absorb those emotions. Hans replied, don't worry. Pain and despair have been my companions in life and now they can't touch me anymore. Han Sung-yun was stunned. No, this was clearly what he said before, but his tone had changed without him realizing it. Hans laughed loudly, Fu, I see, it means that a being with full emotions will have its own personality. Han Sung-yun is worried, if so. There was a loud noise. Han Sung-yun turned around. What was the explosion? Looking out the window, a corner of the city was filled with black smoke. There were other evil people also in the city. The situation was getting worse and worse. Han Sung-yun held his head and turned away. Don't worry, the guards will take care of it. Anyway, it won't happen right in front of your eyes like last time. Besides, I don't care about this. Eliminating evil also requires a reason, Hans spoke. After conveying my negative emotions to Hans, it became clear that this was just my habit of hiding. The truth is that I want to destroy evil people more than anyone, but I always make excuses because I don't have enough courage. Hans puts on the mask, as the world order shifts and chaos ensues. Cleaning up the trash hidden in the darkness all evening felt extremely satisfying. Hans stretched after a whole night of exercise. Around him the evil people lay unconscious. Black eye color is quite useful but has its limits. When it appears in the light, its power weakens and eventually disappears. I need a better way to locate the enemy. I can't release the dead spirit in the middle of the city. What should I do? I was busy thinking when suddenly something fell on Hans' head. It turned out that it was pigeon excrement. Hans shouted angrily, you bastards, I should have killed you and turned you into my subordinates. Ha! Hans looked at the pigeons flying away and seemed to have some thoughts. The eyes are everywhere, invisible and moving freely, that's it. Using mice, owls or cats, it refers to binding magic used by master black magicians to control animals. But, the pigeons landed around Hans. Why can't I use it? He shouted, scaring the pigeons away. This place used to be a goblin temple and is now just an empty lot. Hans looked down at the bird cage holding cats and pigeons. It would be good if it looked normal on the outside but had strong infectious properties. However, if I released magic to make it look normal, then the infectious properties would weaken. Now I understand why the programmers gritted their teeth when fixing the bug. The binding magic infected the last modified version. Hans looked expectantly, but not yet. The cat in the cage was trembling in fear. Suddenly it rushed out and roared like crazy. Its face was deformed with many eyes. The cat ran away. Hans looked on in bewilderment. After 3 weeks of continuous research, this is the last specimen. Back to the pigeon, Hans said to himself, this time I will succeed. Damn it, just stand still for a moment. But the pigeon still flapped its wings and struggled, then adjusted the amount of magic. Infectious binding magic. Hans spits a thick blue smoke from his mouth at the pigeon. Final revision 2, final 3, final reel. Phew, finished. The bird fell asleep in Hans's hand. Suddenly it flew away so fast that Hans had no time to react. At least on the outside they looked normal. Now only the infection remained. The bird flew to other birds. It landed on 2 pigeons to spread the infection. Successful infection. Hans secretly rejoiced. It was successful. The infected creature is becoming his eyes and ears. Hans waved his hand to command. Okay then, go, fly high, and the pigeons flew away. Looking for my enemy, remember carefully, I am Hans from the Oath of War. In the forest a man was examining something from a handful of dirt. The armored knight approached. The man remembered Hans's words, it's all just begun, I'm your death. The armored knight spoke, Archbishop Latius, you're here, Tuscan. After interrogating the remaining captured man, it seemed that the vampire did not collude with the immortal king's subordinates. We need more clues. Even as we do this, the immortal king is getting stronger. The cross hanging around the bishop's neck suddenly shook. Yes, Saint, are you calling me? That's right, Archbishop. Discover the presence of the immortal king. To the northwest from there was a cave in the mountain. A group of people were standing and praying in front of a giant glowing statue. "Thank you, Saint, I will not disappoint you." Over here in the cave, Hans is sitting. I have set up the similarity to send information when they detect monsters, now just need to check if the information has been received. But, the movements of the subordinates on the ground are strange, as if they are running away. They were scared too. Hans was watching through the eyes of a mouse. If they face monsters, they have to send me information, right? Wait, could it be humans? They encounter humans. That's right, the armored knight was riding a horse with a group of soldiers towards Hans. Hans was panicked. Humanity came to this remote place to attack. It was impossible, so many people could hide their presence. At this time the knights had surrounded the cave. The dove was shot through with an arrow. The knight spoke. Hans declared war with his oath. "Your cheap tricks have no effect on us. No demon can escape my eyes, you can't run anymore." He raised his sword towards Hans, obediently surrendered and faced my judgment. Looking at the cross on the knight's chest, Hans realized that it was a cleric. That was the badge I saw when training in Varkoslok. Holy magic was the opposite of dark magic, so troublesome. Hans spoke up. "How did you find me, priest?" Before Hans could finish speaking, the man swung his sword and slashed at Hans. Hans fell to his knees. "Well, I never gave you a chance to speak. Don't think you can seduce me with those lies." Hans put his hands on his chest. "You are as stubborn and narrow-minded as you look." Hans thought, if it's come to this, should I have a little fun and try to escape? He raised his hand to use magic against the priest. The cleric looked disdainfully. With such a clumsy trick, he raised his hand and gathered a bright yellow energy. "You cannot fool God's messenger." The blade stabbed into Hans' chest. "Are you accusing me of punishing bad people? Shut your mouth from the moment you touch the forbidden power. You have become like them." He waved his fist. "What kind of logic is that?" Hans was a bit worried. Something unpleasant had happened with his magic just now. Before he could react, he was hit by the priest's fist. That fist had really great destructive power and exploded around the cave. He appeared and prepared the hymn. The professors sang together. Hans held his head in discomfort. "Oh, that's it, this song makes me weak. I can kill them to stop them, but I can't harm innocent people." Chorister, the cleric, appeared next to Hans. He stabbed the sword through Hans' body again. He shouted, "It's time, restrain Hans, damn it." The clerics recited a certain spell and golden chains rushed out to bind Hans' body. I was too subjective. Hans was completely controlled. Hans was suspended in the air by golden chains. He trembled as he thought, "Hey, it seems like my defense was a bit careless. I can't move or use magic. Chains with these troublesome people, they have set a trap so that we have no way to escape. It seems like you put a lot of effort into this case to catch me, and as expected. No evil demon can escape this prison. Have you surrendered yet?" Hans burst out laughing. He, do you think I would surrender that easily? It seems like there is no negotiation in this conversation. It's just a joke, let's stop here." A magical power spread from Hans' body. "If you have the ability, try to capture me, Father Lackey." The professor was angry. "I don't know what you're planning, but..." He swung his fist. "Do you think I'm stupid enough to stand by and watch you run?" A shining golden arrow rushed towards Hans. Hans thought to himself, "It's useless, no matter how strong this pincer position is." "Hans, I summoned you." Hans disappeared just in time for the arrow to pierce through. The professor was surprised. He could escape those chains. He couldn't believe it. Returning to the real world, what kind of god is that guy? Hans lay on the bed panting. This seems to be a bit complicated. There are so many enemies now, I think I'm causing chaos in the places I've been to. Han Sung-yun recalls his exploits, the Dark Soldier's vow of defiance. Varkoslok vampire family and even one of the strongest forces on the continent, the almighty Italian Holy Order. Han Sung-yun suddenly remembered, wait a minute. He quickly checked the system again, the merit store, the reason why he had been awarded so many merit points until now was, let alone. Hans looked at the system stunned. It was nothing else, it was precisely because he went to make enemies all over the continent. Ahem, I guess I'll think about that issue some more, now focus on the plan I've made. Hans wore tight clothes and a mask that covered his skeleton. He appeared in an alley where cats were gathering to eat boxes of food. Now it was time to harvest the results of his long-standing research. A simple principle is that controlled creatures will disperse dark magic to other individuals when they come into contact. Simply like that, our eyes and ears have covered a huge area and will expand further. It's sooner or later that it covers every corner of Seoul. They're here, first signal. A silent moan, please forgive me. Please sir, I will do whatever you want if you spare me, a girl who is being attacked by a knife-wielding villain. Suddenly she saw someone passing by. As a young man wearing glasses, the girl cried out for help, handsome man wearing glasses, please save me from this guy who is kidnapping me. But that guy ignored it and walked away. She kept calling for help, sir, please don't go, I'm begging you. She was dragged back by the hair by the villain, it was useless. Just scream until your throat turns upside down, scream as loud as you like. Thanks to my power, your screams and sufferings, I am the only one who can see and hear. The villain provoked him, he shouted loudly, his voice was so cute, but why did he stop yelling? He raised his knife, you will be ranked third in my trophy collection. Bang, a loud explosion rang out. The evil man turned around wondering, what is that? Your skills are sound suppression and invisibility, right? It's a pity I'm immune, your string of disgusting crimes is now over. The villain grabbed the girl and raised a knife to threaten, who the hell are you? Are you a bodyguard? How did you get in here? If you come any closer I will kill this girl. Really? Black smoke enveloped the girl. The girl was teleported towards Hans, so what now? What are you planning to do? A returnee, how dare you lay your hands on my prey, then I will kill you and that girl both. He swung the knife and rushed forward. Blue smoke covered his hand, then his whole body covered his mouth. Hans approaches, based on the way you talk, it seems like this isn't the first time you've committed a crime. Hans reached out and touched the villain's head, or should we check it out? He pressed hard on his head, the dead spirit heard the cry of the underworld. Every memory of his crime surfaced, please sir, please forgive me. One serial killer is enough. Hans pressed his hand harder than blood spewed out, I will give you the death sentence. The villain screamed in pain. Even death can be considered an extremely merciful punishment for you. But I also need a few undead commanders on Earth, so let's take this opportunity to turn you into one. A cruel method, by draining all the blood from the body, the villain transforms into a bulging belly and long pointed ears. I didn't expect to make one so soon. And there was a long tongue, a mid-level undead gasped, he looked like a demon. Hans ordered, go in, you will be useful later, the demon just entered the skull gate. Hans turned back to look at the girl lying on the ground, and she was like, well, she should clean up the mess before leaving. The next morning, the police blocked off the scene, and everyone around gathered to take photos. A middle-aged man, he is the leader of the super-powerful crime prevention department, Park Han-chul. A young man approached and said, hey, our team leader has recorded a scene of the crime scene, it seems that he is the serial killer that we have never been able to catch. And the person who killed that murderer seems to be a returnee, that's right, we didn't find any body but a large amount of black magic was discovered on the ground. At least it's good because this scumbag who deserved this death is actually dead, the records of cases that murderer caused are truly a nightmare. Hey, are you kidding me? The group leader pointed to the blood on the wall and the mask symbol and said, immersing himself in power and assuming the role of hero, it's okay, these guys are dangerous. Do they think the law was created for show, giving themselves the right to execute people? Hans was now standing on the building right there, witnessing everything. Who is this crazy guy? I want to see his face just once. In a large building, this is the South Seoul branch of the Korean Returnees Association, branch director. Excuse me, a girl wearing glasses holding documents opened the door and walked in. She helplessly looked at the director in front of her, there he was again. Branch manager Yoon Ji-hoon, wake up quickly, there's something important, a girl with shoulder-length hair doesn't seem to have woken up yet. The director was annoyed and asked, what time is it? The secretary held up the document, the capacity management department has sent a request for cooperation. The female director looked at the documents, the arrest of 3 gem thieves at that time, was that incident also related to the recent murder? A black magic user, wearing a long cloak and a haho mask. She lazily put her feet up on the table, the security problem is getting worse and worse, but they still refuse to let us send more aid, and want to give this whole case to him. The secretary panicked, what, that bastard is a murderer, don't say such things. The female director waved her hand in frustration, and that's what I mean, he's got skills, so just chain him up properly and he'll become a great dog. Can't you let him join as a guardian? The secretary clasped his hands and said seriously, I know you are overwhelmed with your current job, but still. She pointed at the pile of documents, stop talking nonsense and continue working, don't you see that the documents are piled up? I want to beat all those damn villains so bad. Over here, Han Sung-yun is stretching out to enjoy the new day. Beating those evil people is really refreshing. Unless they're a serial killer or something, I usually just put a terrifying curse on them and punish them accordingly. That's merciful enough, right? Looks like I'll have to deal with those guys soon, the criminal organizations that are causing terror there. Well, now that everything here is almost done, should I start paying a little attention to the other world? In the virtual world, Diana Aaron, a crying man called the names of 2 children. Heinz took the 2 sisters to their uncle's house. The 3 of them hugged each other affectionately. You've been through so much, you've worked so hard. The children sobbed. Ah no, we're okay sobbing. Wah uncle. Seeing this scene, Heinz was also happy for the 2 sisters. Seeing that he seemed like a good person made me feel relieved. I even thought that if he dared to act suspiciously, I would consider using threats, but it seemed suspicious. The uncle bowed deeply and took Heinz's hand. Thank you very much for bringing the children here. It's nothing, I'm just doing what I should do. Diana was in tears. Sir, all this time really. Thank you very much, she hugged Heinz. Heinz patted Diana's head and smiled. Come on, it's not like we'll never see each other again. I'll visit often, but remember to behave well and grow up strong and healthy, okay? Diana was now in tears. Sir, I was a bit worried because it felt like your personality was changing more and more, but you are indeed a good person. I felt so relieved. Heinz was confused. Do you think my personality has changed? He thought to himself, because of the persona's effect. With Hans it presents a combination of negative emotions and a desire for recognition, in other words a rather attention-seeking trait. Meanwhile with Heinz II who focuses on infiltration and deception, it seems he has an extremely calm personality. Diana asked, so where are you going now? What about me? We will take this opportunity to go on pilgrimage. In the capital of the kingdom of Talia, Thalaria. There's only one reason why I came here. Capital, Thalaria is the headquarters of the goddess church, and it is home to the largest shrines in the land. Okay with this, no one will be watching. Hans raised his hand to summon, the 4th avatar, summon the avatar Heinlich. Heinlich's general characteristics are calmness, persona, super recovery, serenity. Unique characteristics: warrior souls gain additional skills and experience through training and combat. Heinz handed the bag to Heinlich and said, walking around a holy country with a vampire body is starting to reach its limit. Here, take this, now go to the light. Heinlich held his bag and approached a counter. The next sheep, please step forward. The bald old man with a long braided beard was extremely shocked by the amount of gold in the Heinlich bag. He shyly said, what is the total amount of this place? This is my entire fortune. Heinlich put his hand on his chest sincerely. I want to dedicate everything to the goddess and become a holy knight to serve under her. He thought to himself, up until now his avatars were zombies, a dark magician and a vampire, all children of the night. However, this time his avatar will become a holy knight holding a holy sword and respected by everyone, a holy knight of light. Heinlich thought of the prospect of wearing iron armor, riding a white horse and being praised by everyone, and couldn't help but feel excited. All right. You are truly a young man full of spirit. I, as an instructor, will train you to become a great paladin. The bald old man was a bit worried. Wait a minute, Mr. Marco, no matter how much he donates, we can't bring in an unknown person to become a paladin. He laughed and said, ha ha, don't worry, notary. The cruelty will have to reveal its true form during the holy knight training. How about you, young man, will you freely show your true nature? Heinlich replied with a confident face, of course. I'm so thirsty. Heinlich is sweating profusely. Before he could rest, a large dumbbell rushed towards him. What the heck, this is crazy. He reached out his hand to catch the dumbbell with difficulty. It's been a month since I started this damn holy knight training. At first I thought the Knight Order was a noble and cool society. But it turns out they're just a bunch of muscular perverts. A group of muscular young men are frantically practicing harshly. Brother, just one more time, let's continue. Heinzlich is still straining to support this large weight. On the other side, a guy couldn't stand it anymore and fell down. A heavy dumbbell fell on him. Seeing that, a commander came to give a lesson. Rookie number 12, you're losing concentration. Did you forget the rule of not stopping praying while practicing? He shouted, okay then, focus and pray again. Yes. The young man trembled and prayed. Ha, goddess. The commander was still at the side shouting, more, focus. When practicing, focus on prayer and restore your broken body. He raised the dumbbell with difficulty and shouted, oh goddess. The commander was full of excitement. Good, one more. Heinlich thought to himself, in an extreme situation, praying continuously will strengthen faith and increase holy power. I have to admit that it is extremely effective. A bald guy with huge muscles was crazy enough to let someone hit his back with an iron spiked stick. Ah, my back feels great today, let's go ahead and hit him harder. Any other name would be strong enough to hit the biceps with iron spikes. They all prayed frantically. Oh my goddess, my faith is getting stronger, Heinlich thought helplessly. Did they really have to practice in this perverted way? Above, a commander stood chatting with Marco, who brought Heinlich here. Marco, the rookie you brought here is really no joke. Marco replied, huh? Even before his baptism he could lift this much. His shoulders and lower muscles had become so strong that it was almost unrecognizable. Can't wait to see how much he will improve after his baptism. Heinlich shivered. No, why are they so leery when looking at my body? It's so uncomfortable, I don't want to be noticed by these perverts. Phew, panting, Heinlich's body was drenched in sweat. It's been 3 months since I started my paladin training. If it weren't for my warrior spirit and super recovery skills, I would have been eliminated a long time ago. Both my body and physical strength have improved, but the most annoying thing here is none other than that. A hand was placed on Heinlich's shoulder. Mr. Heinlich, if you have completed your lower body training, why don't we switch to chest training together, you pet crazy guy? Oh no, on a day like this we have to train our back muscles, don't you agree? Another muscle fanatic. This is Heinlich's fear when constantly being bothered by these people. You guys, get rid of all those muscle crazy perverts. On a beautiful morning, Heinlich was sitting and complaining with a brown-haired young man in the same training camp. I was so crazy, there wasn't a day that went by that they didn't call me to go train with them. Well, maybe it's because the seniors have high expectations for you. They're here, it's real. A group of people are gathered together eagerly waiting for someone's appearance. The Archbishop of the main shrine and Mr. Tuscan. It was said that they went on an expedition with the Holy Knights and Crusaders, but it seems they have returned. Heinlich also suddenly realized, that person. Isn't he the paladin who pointed his sword at Hans, went on an expedition and is now back, let alone? Could it be that they were looking for Hans all this time? At the sanctuary, the practitioners said the reason everyone was summoned today was to hold a baptism ceremony for those who had met the standards. Although earlier than usual, due to the special situation, the ceremony schedule has been pushed up, so I hope everyone understands. So the students whose names are called, please step forward. The blonde whispered to Heinlich, why didn't they organize an event that usually only took place every 6 months? Heinlich thought to himself, well, I can roughly guess it. The Holy Knights are in urgent need of reinforcements to capture the descendants of the immortal king. Either way, this is the perfect opportunity for me to save some time. New application of coriander and calming skills. In front of the giant statue of the goddess, the priest raised his hand and asked, student where own? Do you swear to dedicate everything to the Lord and live as a holy knight? The young man replied, I swear, great priest. Those who receive baptism must sacrifice all of their mana to the gods, making them no longer able to use magic. In return, the gods will bless them, granting them an abundant amount of holy magic. The amount of blessing each person receives varies significantly, and the biggest factor in determining the amount of blessing is faith in gods. The purer and more sincere the faith, without any lies or doubts, the more powerful a holy knight one will become. Next, trainee Heinlich. Heinlich thought to himself, this is exactly the reason I chose to become a holy knight. Up to now, I have only used calmness to suppress external stimuli or control my own emotions. But I realized one thing, the application in the opposite direction is also possible. Skills, I will inject feelings of faith into Heinlich. And when the high priest pulled out his mana, by using calmness to filter out physical feelings such as distrust and doubt from one's mana, your mana will then become pure without the slightest trace of doubt, leaving only pure faith and mana. And to fully absorb the blessings to the fullest extent, I will focus the spiritual power of all my beings on Heinlich. This holy power. Heinlich's entire body emitted a terrible amount of holy magic. Wah! It's unbelievable, look, everyone is so surprised. The holy power even reached the top of the god statue's head. The high priest put his hand on Heinlich's shoulder. Mr. Heinlich, no Mr. Heinlich. He was baptized and it was unbelievable that he had reached this level. In fact, he was already at the priestly level. Such a deep faith, it was impressive. From now on, keep trying, Heinlich replied with a smile, thank you. The system displays that you have received the holy purification skill. Holy purification increases the potential of your being and allows for more effective sharing of spiritual power between individuals. Heinlich looked at his glowing hand. Is this the limit of holy magic? Well, at least it's lucky. I doubted whether the false faith created through that trick would work or not. However, it doesn't seem to be completely effective. The god of the sanctuary is more a system than a personality. But when I initiated before, if I had to express the vague feeling I saw with human emotions, it's an emotion close to curiosity. Heinlich looked up at the statue, wondering what that meant, that this power should only be used for good things. It's so frustrating. In the room are the Archbishop and the Holy Knight Tuscan studying the map. We have not been able to find a single piece of evidence about the descendants of the immortal king for the past few months. I no longer have the face to face the saint. Furthermore, it would probably be difficult to ask for more aid from the Talia kingdom. It was possible that the vampire organization hidden in the kingdom was involved in this. During our hunt for Hans, the conflict with the vampire clan and the unyielding oath were too great. Since the execution team hasn't made any progress yet, the political pressure from the Talia kingdom is increasing, and perhaps using that as leverage. The bishop rubbed his face. The 2 execution squads will be disbanded. Lord Tuscan, please call everyone back to the capital. Yes, I understand. Tuscan walked out of the room. We are surrounded on all sides and reinforcements are completely inadequate. He stood inside. How should I solve this problem? Suddenly there was a sound. He looked down. They are the newly appointed holy knights. Wait a minute. There was an opening. The brown-haired man pointed his spear at the Heinlich. The spear stabbed Heinlich's waist. Heinlich used his elbow to hit the brown-haired boy's head hard. The brown-haired guy fell to the ground. Heinlich won. The system displays that the individual has achieved enlightenment through repeated training, and you have obtained the Crusader strategy skill. Heinlich's waist wound is slowly being healed by the combination of super healing and holy magic. Aside from the muscle guys judging, just now you intentionally let yourself get hit, right? Taking a punch is exactly Heinlich's tactic. On this side Heinlich helped the other guy up. He thought to himself, this is not enough, to develop further I need a new change. It was clear that in terms of holy magic he was at the level of a trainer or a high-level paladin. But you still lack the experience to become a holy knight Tuscan. Tuscan faced Heinlich. He probably felt this more clearly than anyone else. He extended his hand towards Heinlich. I will make you stronger. Do you want to come with me to Reselia Palace? Heinlich was surprised. Yes, I went to Reselia Palace. Yes, is there a problem? No, it's not like I want to go there of course, but still. Before Heinlich could finish his sentence, Tuscan turned away. So follow me, we'll leave right away. Heinlich ran after. Can you give me some time to pack my luggage? Let someone else handle it later. The 2 entered a magical circle. Tuscan placed his hand on Heinlich's shoulder. I understand this sudden call is overwhelming. I will explain it to you in detail when we get there. Heinlich replied with a slightly confused face. Understood. The 2 people teleported instantly. In front of them was a magnificent cathedral. Heinlich was stunned. This was Reselia Main Hall. The largest temple of the temple, located in the center of the continent. He followed Tuscan into. The 2 of you kneel before the giant statue of the god, where both the Pope and the saint reside. This is the main center of the church. The beautiful saint with her long white platinum hair and her bright, sparkling face, welcomed Mr. Tuscan and Mr. Heinlich. The 2 of them had come a long way, so they must have been very tired. The 2 bowed their heads and thanked the saint. Heinlich thought to himself, I can enter the Reselia main hall where the saint lives. This is a perfect place to quickly grow stronger. From now on I will become a holy knight known to everyone. Steadfastly grow stronger in the halo of Heinlich. In the real world, this dirty job, Hans sits on top and looks down at the evil people lying everywhere. We will handle it quietly. Browsing social networks, countless articles report about Hans with titles such as the human trafficking organization Demon Hunter Haho Mask, or exposing the identity of Haho Mask, or even the frank comments of Haho Mask. So I accidentally became famous, even though most of the remnants of the human trafficking organization had been destroyed. But there is something strange here. What is this so-called judgment church that the evil people keep mentioning? Kill that bastard. If you mess up, the judgment church won't forgive you. Looks like it's related to some organization. Hans stood up and stretched. I'm sure I'll find out if I continue to eliminate them. Now how to deal with the income from this mission. Heinz in a full suit and mask covering his face was walking on the street. If Haho Mask starts trading large amounts of high-value items from unknown sources while being hunted, that's the perfect way to become the #1 suspect. I walked into a store. I needed a discreet bow to carry out these transactions. Heinz put a big bag at the table and said, I want to sell things. The man was still very indifferent. He continued reading the book and said in a bossy voice, where do you think this is? A pawn shop. No matter what they bring, I'm not interested. Go away. Is that so? I heard that this place likes things like this. After saying that, he poured out a pile of gold coins from his pocket. This guy suddenly turned around. He held the gold coin in his hand and thought, this is the badge of a human trafficking group, a trade association. I heard they were erased by a masked madman. Heinz continued talking, how about this? I'm excited. The man replied, let's go forever, don't wander around. Heinz opened the back door. An employee wearing a strange mask is sitting in front of the computer working. So what do you want to sell? Yes. I gave him the bag of money. Can I pay with something else besides money? The employee looked at the gold coin in his hand and said, do you mean paying with goods? What do you want? Heinz raised his index finger. A winning lottery ticket, as quickly as possible. He thought to himself, if you can't use it, then there's no point in exchanging money. I need a legal source of money for someone named Han Sung-yun. If it's a lottery ticket, it will be clean without a trace. The masked man replied, a lottery ticket, huh? The commission is quite high. Is that okay? Of course. How much can you give? The man pointed at the screen. There is a 6,1 billion won bill here. The remaining conversion period is 4 months. Absolutely prepare 2 more bills like that. Why? With what you brought today, that amount of money isn't enough. Don't worry, Heinz replied. I still have a lot of stock. Saying that, he pulled 3 large gold bars from the black hole and placed them down. Is that enough? The man was stunned. This is. He grabbed Heinz's arm and looked at the bracelet he was wearing. A subspace storage tool. Who exactly are you? This is not a normal item. Where did you get it from? Hey, yes. Heinz frowned in discomfort. I didn't come here to chat with you. Quickly complete the transaction. Okay. The employee was scared. I'm sorry, Heinz. He put his hand down and said, end it quickly. The spreading vampire energy made the employee sweat profusely, and the faint smell of blood that I felt just now turned out to not be my imagination. Heinz put his hand on the employee's shoulder. Well, let's continue this clean transaction. From now on we will understand each other better. Woo, holding 3 lottery tickets in his hand, Heinz couldn't help but feel excited that he had achieved his dream of winning the lottery jackpot like this. What should I buy? He put the lottery ticket in his pocket. More importantly, it would be nice to have a few subordinates who could be ordered to do things like this. Going back and forth all the time is too annoying. He looked at the bustling stream of people passing by and comforted himself, well, just see this as an opportunity to enjoy the nightlife. This road had such terrible security a few months ago because of that human trafficking den, but now it's crowded again, perhaps due to rumors. It feels a bit satisfying to be the one to make this piece come true. Suddenly a red-haired guy came from somewhere close to Heinz's ear and asked quietly, where are you from? Heinz suddenly turned around. Who was he? Standing behind him without me even noticing. The other guy continued, hey, don't be so startled. I just want to chat a little, star. Heinz angrily pointed at him. What are you talking about, you scary bastard, sneaking behind someone and sniffing them? What are you planning? Wait, are you a vampire? Heinz was stunned by the red-haired man's words. He smiled, revealing his sharp fangs. Well, me too. I'm a level 6 vampire from Dotmere Dimension. What is your name? When did you return to Earth? Another space-traveling vampire. What the heck? I have to make something up and get out of here. Before he could do anything, Heinz was hypnotized by that guy. Heinz replied, my name is Heinz. I haven't been back to Earth long. Why did I answer him that? Mind control. Oh, of course, you're just a rookie who just returned to Earth. Let me officially introduce you to my best friend. I am Gamma, belonging to the Blood Covenant organization, where all the vampires on Earth gather. My job is to recruit vampires like you, new vampires to return to Earth. Heinz accepted the business card he gave him. Is there really such an organization? Well, if we want to survive we should cooperate with each other. There is no other choice. Heinz wondered and asked the red-haired guy, what was the level you mentioned earlier? I'm starting to get interested. Instead of chatting out here. Why don't you see for yourself? He pressed the key. It was a luxurious red car that made even Heinz say, oh. Okay, lead the way. Heinz got into that guy's car. In the distance a long-haired girl was watching them. Command, the target is moving as planned. I'm following him. Come in. Where this is, every vampire possesses a vampire coefficient that determines their power level. We measure that coefficient through the Blood Covenant and quantify it into levels and through this magic circle, you can measure the vampire coefficient level. In the room, a mysterious black magic circle, a few people standing around, interspersed with candles and skulls. Heinz was stunned by this scene. The magic circle, that was suspicious. The redhead urged, "What are you doing? Get in there quickly." Heinz thought, well, if the situation becomes dangerous I can cancel the summoning. Wait a minute, this skull. He noticed that the skull was emitting dark energy. It seemed to have traces of dark magic. And it's not just dark magic, witchcraft, curses, alchemy, many different types of magic are all intertwined here. How could this happen? It's been 20 years since the returnees started reappearing. Magic tools are still rare and magic arts are undeveloped because the energy laws of abilities change from world to world. Heinz thought, combining many different abilities into a blood pact was a more impressive organization than I thought. A man hooded in black approached Heinz. "Please hold out your hand to conduct an inspection." "It will sting a bit." He took the knife and cut it into Heinz's palm. Blood flew from the wound. 5 blood cells, level 5 huh? Based on how closely they are connected to each other, your regeneration ability seems quite strong, Heinz thought, so the pure blood from Auterica is level 5 or 6, right? The red-haired guy next to me spoke up. I felt a bit worried knowing that he came from a dimension I had never heard of, but it's only level 5, what a waste of worrying. With level 5 there is no need to cut off any limbs, let's get started. Yes, Mr. Gamma. Following the red-haired man's orders, the black-shirted men conducted a matrix. At this point everything was revealed, so they actually had another motive after all. I know this ritual is too complicated just to measure level, I need to quickly summon Hans. Suddenly there was a loud noise outside. Freezing, the girl who had been watching kicked in the door. Level 6 blood contract Gamma. You were arrested for kidnapping and murdering a relative. Miss Jin Saran, isn't it a bit rude to act like that after everything? On the side, Heinz saw that this girl looked very familiar. He wondered who she was. She pointed at the redhead. "When I received the news that you were kidnapping vampires, I wasn't sure whether to believe it or not, but I didn't expect it to be true. Release that vampire and surrender now." The redhead was fearless, as expected from a loyal and innocent little slave of the blood contract, but have you ever wondered why we had to be slaves in the first place? We are much stronger than ordinary humans. Why do we have to follow the rules of the blood covenant, sneak around among humans and live underground? Angry girl, what did you say? It's because warmongers like you keep pulling these nonsense that we were forced to live in hiding in the first place. Ah, that's just your thinking. But do your teammates have the same thoughts? The muscular man next to the girl's body suddenly began to tremble. The girl was still confused. What? He hit their team's short-haired girl hard in the face. His hands grew sharp claws. The girl was extremely stunned by that scene. The short-haired girl was unconscious on the ground. Why did you rebel? Before she could finish her sentence, the claw stabbed into her stomach, causing her extreme pain. The reason I betrayed is simple. In my dimension, I used to be a lord with status and power. But now that I'm back in this reality, I have to live in a shabby basement and work for some club. Can you understand, Lady Jin Saran, not all vampires live as comfortably as you. So what is your plan? To kidnap vampires? What do you want? Are you planning to rebel against the blood pact? The red-haired man smiled and replied, with these half-hearted low-level vampires, how many centuries do you think it would take to do that? In this reality there is no way to accumulate merit points, which means we cannot become stronger, but after careful research, we found a way. A guaranteed method to become stronger quickly. He used blood to move the unconscious short-haired girl's body up. What are you saying? Don't say it's you. You touched something taboo, right? He hugged the short-haired girl and smiled evilly. So where do you think the kidnapped vampires went? The girl panicked. Don't tell me you created bloodthirsty vampires. Have you forgotten why I was oppressed in the first place? Heinz was thinking, bloodthirsty vampires, you mean cannibalism, but on Earth this is not the same as regular cannibalism. When a vampire devours one from the extra-dimensional dimension, their characteristic vampiric elements combine, which results in an overwhelming power, but at the cost of cannibalism causing severe mental damage, far worse than regular consumption. If they cannot overcome it, they will become bloodthirsty vampires, obsessed with thirst. After the first blood-crazed vampires appeared, vampires were considered a global threat. The red-haired man confidently said, but don't worry, after countless failed experiments, we have found a way to purify the remaining will in the blood. You guys are all perfect materials for our experiment. Magic ring. Not only to classify or measure vampire stats, but also designed to turn vampires into a medicine with no side effects, right? The short-haired girl's blood slowly and strangely condensed, eventually becoming a small round pill. The traitorous man raised his hand towards the red-haired man and said, "Remember to keep your word, I took a risk to follow you here without being discovered." The red-haired guy laughed, "Of course." He threw the blood pill he had just refined to that guy. This was as promised. This guy quickly took the pill. His body quickly transformed, a great power enveloped him. He was very pleased with this result. "So this is the thing achieved through cannibalism that I only heard about. The strength enhancement is on a completely different level. I can't believe it really happened." Furthermore, he grabbed the girl's neck and held it towards the red-haired man. "You said you would provide medicine for the people I brought, right? Give me more." "Okay, I understand you're interested in becoming stronger, but there's a process to these things. The new guest is waiting. See." He turned to look at Heinz in the magic circle. "Please wait a little longer." "Stop, 2 purebloods and 4 inferior bloodlines, huh?" Heinz spoke up, "So cannibalism from the extra-dimensional dimension is really that effective? I can't wait to see how strong I will become, after absorbing all of you." Saying that, Heinz opened the door to the skull space. "What the hell is this? Your stealth ability is quite good, but your protection skills are pathetic. From now on, no one leaves here without my permission." Hans officially appears with his zombies. "What the hell?" the redhead ordered. "Don't panic, stand together and we'll take them down one by one." The muscular man flexed his body and grew countless sharp claws. He rushed towards the zombies and acted extremely cruelly. "The other guy's body changes don't seem normal," Hans silently speculated. "So even the vampire's appearance is different depending on the dimension, huh?" Hans tapped his staff on the floor. The dark magical power quickly spread to create. Large sharp arrows protruding from the ground pierced the muscular man's body. Seeing Heinz rush up, Hans reminded, "Hey, I want to catch them but don't let them lose blood, but I don't think you need help." Heinz grabbed the strong guy from behind. "Is this a disadvantage of trying to plow naturally? Well, it's not a big deal. There's a ton of food coming." Thinking so, he bit his shoulder hard. The red-haired guy witnessed everything in shock. "What the hell is that guy doing? Don't tell me he's actually cannibalism." Before dying, the thoughts of the Force appeared. How the hell had I lived until now with the thought of betraying them? I can't die like this, but in the end he fell. Heinz wiped his mouth in annoyance. "Yes, the mental damage was much worse. When I sucked blood I heard every thought and disordered idea." Suddenly his penis fell off. I could feel it. The variation of vampire coefficients is being combined and evolved. A new set of sharper teeth has grown. The system displays, "You have unlocked the hybrid evolution skill." Hybrid evolution greatly increases physical abilities. Each time a new vampire element is absorbed, the user will usurp the target's bloodline ability. Heinz's body grew sharp claws like a strong man's. He smiled complacently. "Not bad. With this skill, if one doesn't go crazy with blood, one can be quite dangerous. Let's see, I need an organization to run errands for me." The red-haired guy was so scared that he sat down with fear. "What about the Blood Pact, and if anyone dares to fight them they will become my next meal or part of the Headless Army." Heinz one by one drained the blood of the men in black until they were just corpses. System displays, "You have acquired a new vampiric trait. Thanks to the influence of hybrid evolution, you have received the Eye of Wisdom skill. Wisdom Eye allows you to measure your opponent's condition and physical stats." Eye of Wisdom, that's a useful ability. Vampires possess a special supernatural ability called bloodline power based on lineage. And with the ability I just gained through hybrid evolution, I can steal all of those powers. How? What the hell? How can you devour your own kind and still maintain your reason? The red-haired guy was now tied up with blood by Heinz. Heinz smirked and replied, "Interested, do you want me to tell you how to prevent your brain from being corrupted? The whispers you hear when you absorb them, just don't listen to them." "What the hell is that?" Display system, "Thanks to the influence of hybrid evolution, you have gained hidden skills. Invisibility allows you to erase your presence." The last redhead became a dried corpse. "Hidden, huh? Not bad. There are many ways to make use of it. Now should we take a look inside this bastard's head?" He pressed his hand on his forehead. Thoughts appeared: research, cooperation, support, the punishment church's magic, Mr. Beta, about the promise. Beta is this bastard's superior and the punishment church is mentioned again. It seems like this complicated ritual was also their work. What exactly were these guys plotting when they helped with the blood pact? The dreamy girl woke up. "Are you awake? You scum dare to sell out your own kind. Where are you taking me?" She angrily strangled Heinz. "Stop and look closely. I'm the vampire that was captured earlier. If you continue like this there will be an accident." Only then did she calm down. "Oh my god, I'm sorry, can you explain what happened just now? Do you know the Haho mask? I escaped during the chaos when that group of militia suddenly rushed in." The girl was extremely grateful. "Even so, you still saved me, thank you very much. My name is Jin Saran, from Nocturnia." This voice and face, no matter how you look at it, it feels like you've seen her before. What exactly happened just now? People from the same blood pact fighting each other. Blood Covenant is currently deeply divided between hardline and moderate factions. We found evidence that the hardliners had kidnapped a member of our team, so I went there with some close colleagues. But luckily we escaped safely. We also discovered the purpose of these bastards. Now we just need to report to our superiors and end everything. Heinz scratched and thought, did she really think it would be that easy to handle? Clearly even the superiors of the hardliner faction were involved. "Ah, by the way, which side are you on, you savior? You look quite strong, savior. Just call me normal, then I'll call you brother. It's okay if you feel comfortable. I just returned to Earth, so I haven't affiliated with any side yet. I followed Gamma because I was curious about the blood contract." The girl said brightly, "If you're looking for a place to belong, seeing how the blood pact is, most vampires are in it. The moderate side doesn't do shady things like this, and they have a steady supply of blood through their relationships with the blood bank." "So what? Maybe I'll look into it." "Great, I'll guide you there." The car stopped in front of a house. "This direction, go in." "Ms. Soran." A little girl wearing a yellow dress rushed to hug the girl. "I heard everything. Are you okay, my little Nahi, are you good?" Soran raised his hand to introduce. "Hello, this is Mr. Heinz, who is about to join the Blood Covenant." "Hello." Heinz waved goodbye to the girl. "Okay, I'll take Mr. Heinz to his room. You stay here and play by yourself. Ouch, but please hurry up." Following Soran upstairs, Heinz wondered as he walked, asking the child from before. "It looks so small, is it just the appearance?" Soran knew what Heinz was thinking. She replied, "No, Nahi is not the one who returned." Heinz wondered, aren't all vampires returnees? No, Nahi was born and raised on Earth. Instead her father was a returnee. He turned her into a vampire to save her from an incurable disease. Now I understand why the government wants to control vampires. In a way, Heinz thought, they were like an infectious disease from the outside. Of course, that method is not commonly used. Infecting other people on Earth requires more time and blood. Especially Nahi's father wanted her to live confidently under the sun. He really pushed himself to the limit. Once there, Soran opened the door. "If you need anything, just call me. It's late, please rest." "Okay, goodbye." Heinz was stunned to recognize this posture, that gesture, that voice. "I remember, BJ Fan Lan." Soran was startled. "What?" She shyly covered her face. Well, the ending sentence of that stream kept lingering in her mind, and he wasn't the one who watched those streams. Heinz shyly waved his hands. No, I just saw those lines pop up on the broadcast a few times, that's all." "Ah, so lucky, I almost died of embarrassment." Soran shyly told me, "Actually, I used to be an idol trainee. After I quit, I felt very regretful, so I decided to do streaming." "Trainee, how old are you?" "I'm 22 years old, I woke up when I was 18 years old." "What about you, how old are you? When will you wake up?" Soran's face was extremely eager to know while Heinz was filled with confusion. "Oh my god, me. I will say it later." He slammed the door shut, leaving Soran outside wondering, what? Did I say something wrong? Phew, I thought she was younger, so we just talked normally. Turns out she's a senior. This young man is only 20 years old. No wonder she looks familiar. Turns out she's a streamer. I heard she's quite famous. Should I check it out? Having said that, he searched on his phone and noticed the notification to pause the stream. So after posting this, she came to the scene just now. If it weren't for me, this would have been the last post. It was so close. So after posting this, she came to the scene just now. If it weren't for me, this would have been the last post. It was so close. The next morning, what should I say? Why can't we find anything in such a big place? Even though Heinz was sleeping, he was woken up by this shrill sound. What was making all this noise so early in the morning? He walked downstairs. There was no evidence. It couldn't be. Soran is on the phone. Heinz asked, "Is something wrong? Ah, brother, did you sleep well?" She sighed. "My colleagues arrived at the scene, but everything was burned down, so nothing could be found. Now we can't put pressure on the hardliners." Heinz thought to himself, they really went to the trouble of trying to erase Hans's traces. He pretended to show regret in front of Soran. "I'm sorry, but I have something to ask." Let's mark the location of the hardliner faction's headquarters. He held out his phone. Saran was surprised. The headquarters of the hardline faction. She held Heinz's hand nervously, not to mention the blood pact wasn't suitable for him. No, calm down. Those dangerous bastards, wouldn't it be better to know their location so we can avoid them? Hearing that, Saran breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, I see, wait a minute. Saying that, she picked up Heinz's phone and marked the location of the hardliner faction's headquarters. Saying that, she took Heinz's phone and marked the location of the hardliner faction's headquarters. Heinz thought to himself, Heinz is currently at the edge of pure blood territory, falling into level 6,7 according to Earth standards. Must turn Heinz into a true bloodline by sucking blood from the same clan. Here, she handed the phone back to Heinz and told him that as long as he avoided the marked places, he would be safe. Well, I'll prepare a simple breakfast for you. Heinz waved his hand. No need to worry. I looked around and there were a lot of restaurants nearby, so I planned to go out and explore some delicious food. Delicious, this place is truly a great restaurant. Heinz sucked all the blood of the restaurant staff. Asshole. An employee was lying face down on the ground looking angry. You think you will escape after doing this? My clan will hunt you down and devour you. Me, how do you know who I am? Thanks to the ability to hide I took from you. Now those people are like a bunch of blind fools. Up until now this trick has always worked, so. He grabbed the employee's collar and raised his hand, wanting to reveal the location of his remaining accomplices. The employee's thoughts appeared when he pressed his forehead. A group of people gathered. The man standing in the middle wearing a hood spoke up, paying attention. All Gamma members will gather at the villa tomorrow to attend the meeting. The group of leaders of the hardline faction is gathering. This is a big deal, a perfect opportunity to eliminate the entire nest. I have to leave now, but first I need to clean this place up. Blood flower, a flower turning into blood appeared in Heinz's hand. The blood flower sheds blood to create a flaming flower that only burns the chosen target, and is only extinguished by command from the caster. I will use the new blood flower move I received after dealing with these people to destroy any physical traces. As for magical traces, I will use concealment skills. With this way, no one can find me. The staff's bodies have disappeared. Heinz's heart suddenly fluctuated. With this feeling, my body has evolved again. Display system, special skills, pure bloodline evolves into true blood. Due to the influence of hybrid evolution, you received enlightenment, you gained the blood diffusion skill. The entity's recovery ability has transcended its limits, and its regeneration skill has evolved into super regeneration. It's finally done, I finally became a true blood, and I also received a new skill. Let's see what kind of skills they are. Thinking about it, he used his nail to cut his hand, blood splattering. The wound healed instantly, the blood automatically collected, the wound on my artery healed instantly. The synergy between True Blood's blood control and super regeneration was truly terrifying. If I can absorb the blood of surrounding creatures to recover when fighting, it can be said that I will be invincible. He looked at the painting on the wall and thought, if the true blood is this strong, then how terrifying is the holy blood? Orca Soup donated 1,000 cheese. As soon as I saw the announcement that Orchid was back, I ran into the channel like a howling dog. Oh my god. Thank you. An Orky fan donated 1,000 cheese points, and you also 1,000 points. Saran was secretly happy. Delicious. This was enough for me to buy blood bags for a month without worrying, while she was busy interacting with fans without realizing that Heinz had opened the door and walked in. Seeing this scene, Heinz was stunned and blushed. I know it's not easy to make money from other people, sorry, just keep doing what you're doing. But at this moment Saran was stunned when he saw his appearance. Her face turned red and she screamed, knocking on the door before entering. After calming down a bit, she asked, then, what is up? As for Heinz, it wasn't strange that he had been hit in the head and was kneeling down to admit his mistake. He rubbed his head shyly. Well, he gave a letter to Saran saying, there is a letter addressed to you. Saran opened the letter and saw evidence of the crimes of a hardline faction. Anonymous people can submit detailed documents like this. She remembered the masked hero Haho. I don't know who this person is, but his actions are very similar to someone wearing a mask. But the only person I shared information about the hardliners with was Heinz, and these clues started appearing after I told Mr. Heinz the location of the hardliners. Could it be that these two worked together or is it just a coincidence? Evening. Heinz and Hans were standing on a terrace overlooking a mansion. So this is where the leader of the hardline faction held a meeting. They held a meeting to come up with a countermeasure against the Haho mask, so that made it easier for me. Heinz uses his vision ability to see through the entire building. There is an invisible barrier of blood surrounding the building. The blood flow diffused, and the place where they gathered was the first floor. As expected, a group of members equal to Gamma's size were together in one place. The energy I felt was completely impossible to underestimate. Heinz rushes down from the rooftop. Okay, we have to hide Hans in the dark and go in together and kill them all in one move. Heinz smashed the window and landed. He boldly posed, his voice full of confidence, raising his hands to be tied up. Criminals. What? They're definitely here, there's no one there. There was a crack in the air and a voice came out, damn it, I'm still trying to capture the Haho mask. But some strange vampires appeared again. From the crack the vampires came out, well, taking your place. The leader pointed his finger and asked, Beta 1, Beta Shin, do you know anything about this? The vampire with one side of his face sewn back smiled and replied, we don't know anything, this guy is at least level 7, but is a completely new face. A female vampire with a stitched face on one side also spoke up, maybe this guy appeared out of nowhere. Heinz thought to himself, I've heard about Beta in the memories of the hardliners, the leader is Alpha, below him is Beta, followed by 13 Gamma. So the two Betas are here. The bigger problem was the group of masked people who seemed to come from the punishment church. I can't feel their energy, no matter what method they're using, it's beyond my ability. The leader gave the order, first drag that guy in front of me and of course. Along with the person hiding in the shadow, Heinz was sweating profusely. They already know, it seems you guys are quite strong, we'll see. I will deal with you quickly. Heinz used the blood flow skills diffusion and acceleration. He rushed past the vampires. Those people were extremely shocked, he personally sucked the blood of his own kind, he couldn't believe it. There's no time to be surprised. The zombies appear from the darkness, the real show is now starting. A scared guy tries to run away, quickly get away, even if I get punished, I still have to save my life first. He opened the door. Dark black smoke poured out. You guys aren't the only ones who know how to create shields. From now on. This is a death match, there is no way out. Heinz waved his hand, the vampire's limbs flying everywhere. The beta vampire was extremely stunned. Is he crazy? What the hell, this is not simply level 6 or 7 anymore. There must be some trickery here, he was scared and ran away. Heinz used his long, sharp fingers to point at him, this guy was still running away. This was not enough to defeat him, but he was unaware of the danger ahead. Heinz's nails quickly stabbed into the vampire's eyes. This guy quickly used the skill T by. Stone scales appear to protect him from Heinz's attack. Heinz laughed, oh, can you block it? If so, I guess I need to increase my strength a bit. He raised his punch and hit Beta's body hard, the stone scales protecting him shattered. The beta vampire is unbelievable, how is that possible? My iron skin, a skill that had never broken when attacked before, was crumbling, he surpassed me in both strength and speed. The vampire fell, a large dent in his chest from Heinz's blow. But he was still able to sit up, shouting loudly, damn it, stop him. Several vampires rushed up to support Mr. Beta 1. Stop me, you flies, where do you get such confidence? A stream of blood rushed out from Heinz's hand and pierced the vampires' bodies. The beta vampire who witnessed this was scared and crazy, he took down all his subordinates so easily, he's too dangerous. Now he's distracted by having to deal with his minions, I have to take him down immediately. Thinking about it, the vampire raised his hand and rushed towards Heinz. He cut off Heinz's arm. Heinz laughed, it's useless. I absorb blood to restore strength and to continue to be much stronger than before. Heinz's arm healed quickly and strongly as if it had never suffered any injury. On top of that, we now get a new skill, the stealth skill. Heinz disappeared before the vampire's eyes. This guy was extremely shocked, he disappeared. The beta vampire's face was full of worry and he was sweating profusely, where is he? At this moment, Heinz appeared from behind him. Heinz used a stab to pierce the vampire's stomach, right here, behind you. His face was full of excitement, checkmate. The system displays and collects additional vampire power coefficients. The blood magic skill has evolved into the blood eyes skill. Blood eyes absorbs the enemy's skills blood flower and blood flow diffusion. Now the dead vampire was floating in Heinz's arms, the others could only stand and watch without daring to move. We can see it, we can control this new skill as we wish. Now we can control it more easily to defeat the enemy. You bastard, cannibal, are you crazy? The female beta vampire was angry. No wonder you used such a strange skill, so what? Are you going to sit there and talk nonsense, with itchy ears? Heinz replied provocatively, good. Why don't you come here and attack me and die like your friend, or are you afraid? She was full of anger and rushed over, bastard. Heinz uses the blood eye skill. Streams of blood rose from the ground, clinging to the female vampire. She was shaking angrily. The bastard was playing dirty. Heinz sneered, playing dirty, I'm not happy to hear that. Let me tell you this. Die. Heinz swung his hand across her neck, causing blood to splatter. The leader was really scared at this point. The bastard monster, who would have thought that there was a monster like that here? He turned around and ordered 2 masked men to prepare the ball. We have to deal with him. A masked man pulled out a yellow glowing ball from his body. The ball's light spread strongly, forming lines of light that rushed towards Heinz. Interestingly, Hans appeared in front of Heinz. He waved his hand. A force of strength reflected the masked man's attack, passing through his head. The remaining masked man was so scared that his face turned pale. He was too strong. This battle was hopeless. I need to escape from here. The leader saw this guy intending to run away and angrily used a palm to attack him. Where do you think you are going? This guy cried out in pain. Up to now you have contributed well. Let the church punish you. Go and die for the freedom of the church. He kicked the masked man in front of Hans. And he used space control skills to escape. Hans realized, it was a self-destruct curse. He ran away from me and left his teammates behind. That's a good captain. Hans raised his hand. I'm sure you want to force me to leave here, but it's too bad. A giant hand appeared and grabbed the masked man from before. This curse is nothing. I will simply dispel it. The giant finger pressed hard on his stomach, causing 2 balls to fly out. Hans thought to himself, the 2 spheres in his body are the source of his power. If I destroy them, he will. I am the ruler of death. Do you think you can escape from me? The leader has now teleported out of the house. Damn it. He sat down on the ground and breathed a sigh of relief. He was so strong. I was lucky to escape just in time. After all, I'm alive, if I make good use of my time. But no, Hans now appeared right behind him. Hans grabbed the fugitive's neck and said, so you're here. I was going to play with you a bit, but who knows when you're going to run away again. So we will do it our way. Then he put his finger on his forehead and read the memory. No, the leader realized. This guy is invading my mind. He's trying to read my memories. Show me all your memories of the chastising church. The image appears of a boy wandering around a garbage pile, until he became an adult and covered his face. Suddenly, this guy's head was exposed to some kind of glowing power. Hans appeared in an empty gray space. This place was in the heart of the stars. There's someone's voice. I didn't think you'd go that far. You're very impressive, Mask. Hans turned around. There was a person with a body emitting a striking green light sitting on a chair. Oh, you have been watching me all this time, so you are the leader of the punishment church. A mysterious guy whose face was not even clear. He smiled and proposed to Hans. That's right, Mask, why don't you join our guild? Interesting suggestion. So let me ask, what is the purpose of the church's punishment? This green guy replied, it's simple, you are free to return, to create a new world as you wish, led by the returnee. For an emerging organization, your ambition is too great. How new? We have existed for much longer than you know. We have continuously fought for freedom. So you are responsible for all the terrorist acts up to now, right? Answer me. He was extremely angry when he remembered the wound in his leg, as well as the haunting losses he had endured, all because of this crazy man's single-handed leadership. The alert system, alert, calms the mind, is readjusting emotions. Calmness is adjusting emotions, calmness is adjusting emotions. His anger reached its peak. This was the first time the system had given so many warnings. This green guy still didn't know anything and smiled and asked, is that a problem for you? I hope you will make the right choice. Hans raised his hand to punch this bastard, but there was an invisible barrier around him blocking him. The green guy put his chin on his hands and said seriously, so it's your choice. This is the mind world. Here mental power is much stronger than magic. He smiled smugly. You can't defeat me here. Ha ha, Hans laughed. So whoever is stronger in mental strength here will win. If so, Heinrich. Heinz. And even Han Sung-yun. It's you who can't defeat me. At the Reselia Sanctuary, Hawk, 1,021,000, Hawk. 1,022,000, Heinlich is frantically training with giant stone statues. Phew, it's done. Finally, the system notifies, the entity has achieved the condition and received the special skill, solid body blessing. The entity had acquired holy skills through repeated training. Heinlich had finally reached the holy magic level of a great priest. He walked around the temple thinking, unable to believe that he had actually overcome the limit just by physical training. Anyway, with this, I've met the conditions to become a paladin, so I should discuss the next step. Hum hum hum, Heinlich suddenly heard someone's humming sound. Ah, the saint, she is sitting and playing with a bug in her hand in a beautiful flower garden. Heinlich thought to himself, even if she is the saintess of the almighty Italian church, when looked at like this, she is just an ordinary girl. Noticing Heinlich standing there, the saint smiled brightly. Hello Mr. Heinlich. Heinlich smiled helplessly, well except for the brilliant aura that was overflowing due to her holy power. Yes holy lady hello. He bent down to ask why she was here alone. The saint was still so radiant. Oh I observed a ladybug in a flower field, it was so cute, it wiggled all the time, then I forgot everything. So she wasn't looking at flowers but looking at ladybugs. Mr. Heinlich. He finally received blessings. Congratulations, Heinlich thought, the saint is indeed a saint, she recognized it immediately. The blessing of a strong body is not something you can achieve with the help of others, be proud of yourself. Heinlich scratched his chin awkwardly, thanking you. The saint looked up at the clock tower and said, oh it's time to serve. She happily pointed forward and asked Heinlich, let's go to church, Mr. Heinlich. Of course, the saint. While receiving history lessons here, I understood why the saint was obsessed with Hans. In the distant past, the first immortal king tainted half the continent with death. Even though all nations joined forces to defeat him, his heart was recovered by his closest ally, the dark magician. He was reincarnated as the second immortal king and caused the collapse of the great empire in the west. The chosen one of the guild must struggle to destroy his heart. But it broke into 3 pieces and scattered across the continent. Every time the immortal king's disaster arises, the almighty holy will take the lead in the battle. Heinlich thought to himself, they must have lost so many lives in the process. For a saint who cherishes her followers like family, it is natural for her to be obsessed and have such strong hostility towards the immortal king. But honestly, it's not necessary anymore. That guy, surprisingly, is very kind and soft-hearted, you know. Heinlich was also receiving signals from his mind center about Hans' story at this time. Alright. Please focus your mental energy on Hans. In the real world, at a certain mansion, cough. A guy is coughing up blood, coughing. The subordinate saw this and was extremely worried. Your Highness, the judge, are you okay? He angrily pushed that guy away. Get away, you're bothering me to concentrate. Impossible, I was pushed back, in a battle in the spiritual realm. How is this possible? He is the original form of that green guy. Hans gathered the avatar spirits and finally penetrated the protective barrier and hit the green guy, causing him to crack. This guy still can't believe it. Clearly I had the advantage from the beginning. But now he has grown stronger than me, to the point of being uncontrollable. It was as if the green guy raised his hand to gather strength. Many people are joining forces. But before he could do anything, Hans's palm pierced his body, breaking it in half. It's not just a difference in mental strength, it's a matter of skill. This guy is still unbelievable. There is no way my spiritual realm skills can be inferior. No, now is not the time to worry about it. He gave orders to his subordinates, giving urgent orders to the soul branch. The subordinate is still bewildered and doesn't understand what's going on. He shouted loudly, immediately stopped all operations, deleted all information, and immediately went into hiding, especially the Korean branch. Please give priority orders. He gritted his teeth, tell the commander. In Korea there is a monster. Hans stood before the green man's broken body. He picked up a piece and thought, even with calmness and serenity, he was not an easy opponent. I need to research it more closely, but losing track of him would be a shame. System notification. The entity has absorbed the merit points of others, evolving dark magic skills into special skills path of sorcery. So this fragment still has remnants of that thing, scattering throughout the spiritual realm, and absorbing its merit points means that my growth has come at the cost of lowering its level. Hans held the blue power in his hand. Okay, by reading the memories left in this fragment, I can find the hiding place of the punishing church. A building hidden in the woods, so this is the Korean branch of the Church of Punishment. They hide deep in the forest. I won't give you any chance to escape. Hans immediately moved. I will reveal all your secrets right now. A fierce battle took place inside the building, black smoke was flying. What the hell, a researcher is lying on the ground, they told us to evacuate, but they never said there was a monster like this coming. Hans wondered, had the evacuation order been given already? He used his strength to lift this guy up. Well, at least it wasn't a futile effort. This researcher is still trying to grasp some document in his hand. It seems you've destroyed all the important resources, but now what? Because you tried to destroy every piece of data, you ended up having to give it all back to me. He snatched the documents from his hand. Now, let's see, in the past, you have committed all kinds of crimes. What? Hans looked at the documents until his hands trembled. This incident. I will never forgive this. He held the documents tightly in his hand. Behind him, the researcher also died before his dark power. Locations are marked on the map. One of them is the beginning of the tragedy of Han Sung-yun's life, the explosion that year. Hans was filled with indignation, punished by the church. You bastards have taken away my entire life. I will kill every last one without sparing anyone. Returning to the image of the fire that year, Han Sung-yun thought it was the end of the world, that everything was simply an accident, and he could only give up. However, after Hans saw the map with the red lines on it, he finally realized that the organization behind it that completely destroyed his life and family turned out to be the Church of Punishment, which is you guys. He held his head and thought, but compared to the things he had encountered before, they were on a completely different level, so to speak. I need to expand my power even more. Heinz's face was full of madness. No matter how much time or money it took, you, the Punishment Cross Society, must pay the price very dearly. Heinz held his hands that were emitting a great red power, so he had to first calculate his steps first. If you stubbornly resist, you will die without a complete body. Scene changed to Soran's compound, star. Mr. Heinz, is it true that you said you have dealt with all the conservatives? Soran's face was filled with unbelievable surprise, and now you want to meet the leader of our moderate faction. Heinz folded his arms and replied seriously, yes, apart from a few inevitable and unpredictable reasons, the rest have been resolved satisfactorily. Regarding this issue, I have something I want to discuss with your leader. Soran's head still hurts. Wait a minute, I'm overloaded. I'll just report this first, but I still need to go verify the matter. Also, verify, huh? Before she could finish her sentence, Heinz emitted a terrible energy. So does this count as evidence? Soran was extremely surprised. I knew this guy was strong, but I didn't expect it to be this strong, at least level 7 or more. It's really beyond my understanding, she replied to Heinz. Okay, I'll contact them right away. Scene change. In an office, Heinz and Soran are sitting opposite a woman. Next to her a man wearing glasses is holding a bottle of wine preparing to pour for them. The woman spoke up, seeing him wipe out those defenders, and now he continues to plan to devour the remaining remnants. What a surprising proposal, but also very disturbing. Heinz replied, I don't mean to make ridiculous demands, my purpose is still to preserve world order and peace. Uproot the punishing churches. The girl smiled and replied, don't you see that your goals are opposing each other? Heinz replied seriously, it remains to be seen how specific it is. It seems she is not an easy person to deal with. If she refuses, then he will have to use force. He already has his hand under the table. But different from what he thought, she replied, okay. It was Heinz's turn to be confused. What belief made her agree so quickly? What belief? The girl smiled, of course, because I believe in myself. I will help you eliminate those people, Mr. Heinz. Please take Soran with you. Soran was extremely alarmed by the girl's words. What? She will be the bridge between the two of us. Heinz laughed it off. Well, that's exactly what I wanted. Soran on the other hand still can't believe this decision, but I don't think this time is right for me. The girl ordered the man to pour wine for Heinz and then continued talking. Okay, let's start getting specific. How to swallow up the conservatives. And, the man poured wine for Heinz. The girl raised her glass, and turned to the neutral faction that had recently emerged. Heinz held a glass of wine in his hand. Okay, first he had to deal with all the remnants of the conservative faction and climb to the position of leader of the new political faction. The first step in the plan to dominate the blood contract, the two of you raised your glasses to mark the beginning of your cooperation. At night at Soran's house, standing still, moving still hurts, yes. Alright. Let's get started. These two are planning to do something. Something went into Soran's back. Something went into Soran's back. This feeling. Pure blood crystals are entering the body, burning it. Blood pumping speed increases. Bones and muscles expand. It's like I've just been reincarnated again. my previous body seems like it never existed. Saran covered his face in surprise but was extremely happy. The pure blood crystal enhanced to a maximum of 30%, not a small number, but it needed to continue to be maintained. She turned around and asked Heinz with a respectful voice, "So, what should we do now, Master?" Heinz wondered, "Huh, Master?" "That's right, Master, right now you don't look like you're building a new family. A new lineage has been born. I think we should give it a suitable name. Have you thought of a name yet?" Heinz rubbed his chin in thought. Name, he thought, I want it to be very outstanding, very different. That's right, all the vampires who absorbed pure blood crystals had to undergo a transformation because they were controlled by their own blood, right? They all obey someone like me. He smiled sinisterly and said, heterosis. From this moment on, we call ourselves heterosis, superior hybrid individuals. Clean your neck and wait for the verdict, conservative remnants. My family will be the strongest family under the blood contract. Just do that. Han Sung-yun stretched his arms cheerfully. Thanks to that, everything on the Heinz side was settled. However, it is still not enough to overthrow the punitive church. Although they have disappeared from Korea, the scale of their organization still seems to be global. I have to prepare more carefully, with one move that will turn the whole situation around as soon as they show up. In addition, I have to expand my power even more in other worlds and collect more karma. For example, by war or terrorism. But reason made him think again immediately. Wait. What the hell are you thinking? If you do that, innocent people will get hurt. What will you do? Causing trouble and then dragging innocent people into it. Such absurd things can still be thought of. Let's clean up a bit. He looked at the Knight and Dragon book on the table. An idea flashed. There was a way. The Demon King Hans, a threat to humanity's safety, and the hero of justice Heinrich, his rival. While Hans continuously gathered all the corrupt nobles to expand his power, Heinrich defeated their evil forces one by one and became a hero. A perfect rotation. Han Sung was extremely excited with the scenario he came up with, both eliminating evil and achieving karma. Both sides benefit, just do it step by step. Harley. It's your turn to act. Another avatar of Han Sung-yun. This is Harley, Han Sung-yun's fifth alter ego. Physical characteristics that adapt quickly and effectively even in harsh conditions. Han Sung-yun looked at Harley's avatar with pride. After recreating and extending its resistance, I planned to raise it properly, but when I joined, I wanted to further develop its adaptive characteristics. There must be a way. Suddenly a thought flashed. On this side, Hans is smiling with satisfaction. Foo, this is the place. This time, the remnants of the conservative faction seem to have been wiped out, at a scrapyard, deep underground. A conservative monster research lab. Hans walked up to a giant test tube in which was a terrifying monster. They're always doing experiments down here, transplanting demon corpses into human bodies. Looking at the demon, Hans thought, it looks like a chimera. Among the samples, this is exactly what I've always wanted to own. Something that is capable of continuously absorbing powerful characteristics and evolving them. Blood Dragon. If Harley absorbs this skill, along with the knowledge he has mixed into it, you will definitely become the ultimate biological weapon, Harley. Rain falls on the trees. The saint is standing in a daze in the rain. What are you worried about, saint? Heinrich came forward to cover the saint with an umbrella. Mr. Heinrich, why are you sighing, still standing in the rain? It's really nothing, maybe because the weather is so gloomy. I just feel suffocated, as if my chest is being squeezed tightly. Anyway, if you catch a cold, you'll be in big trouble, so let's go inside, okay? Indeed, she is a saint, very good. Even in the surrounding remote mountainous area, there is a 2-layer fence. Here Hans is onto something. Data from the Church of Punishment and my forbidden knowledge have records. Finally a perfect test subject. Harley's face was full of excitement. Let's begin. At the sanctuary, Mr. Heinrich, you are the sword and shield that protects righteousness. Can you become a holy knight of the almighty divine will and protect the innocent? This is a knight ordination ceremony. Heinrich was kneeling in front of the archbishop and replied, yes sir. The archbishop puts on you the holy seal, so from today, I will appoint Heinrich Landert as the holy knight of the almighty holy will. The holy seal on Heinrich's chest glows. The system notifies that the subject has met the conditions and is enlightened. You have obtained a special skill, a blessing to jump. The great pastor was extremely surprised. Oh, it's God's grace, receiving the blessing right at the ordination ceremony. Surely the superiors are watching over us. An invisible hand was placed on Heinrich's shoulder. He could feel it was happening again. even if it was just for a moment, he definitely felt the will of the gods. Just like the first time I was baptized, it felt like he was directly observing me. Heinrich doesn't understand. Why? Is it because I come from another world? This is not like human curiosity. Putting that aside, let's take the opportunity to try using this blessing first. Display system, jump blessing, allows one to enter space. What? Penetrating into space. This is no different from the teleportation skill. There is no mention of usage limit or distance, but this is truly an excellent skill. As expected of gods, they are truly generous, giving me such strong abilities. Heinrich was extremely grateful and shouted loudly, "Thank you, God, thank you for taking care of me." The people watching were moved to tears, shouting, "What a devout young man, I saw that too. From now on I'm looking forward to seeing which knight order he will choose to join." Congratulations on officially becoming a holy knight, Heinrich. You will be temporarily assigned to different knight orders. The man enthusiastically introduced, "Here, representatives of each guild have come to invite you back. The knight guilds will specialize in different weapons and techniques, so choose carefully." A holy knight raised his sword and greeted enthusiastically, "Nice to meet you. I'm from the Sky Shield Guild. We specialize in protecting the area outside the fortress with long-range spear skills." A guy with a scar across one eye calmly said, "I'm from the Sun Guild. We specialize in fighting on the front lines and specialize in deadly swordsmanship." Another guy with shaggy hair and beard laughed loudly, "I'm a veteran of the Thunderclaw Guild. Our job is to protect security inside the citadel, including fighting techniques with spears and swords." All three said in unison, "So which knight guild do you want to apprentice in?" Heinrich smiled and replied, "No need to think, I will practice with all associations." Everyone gasped in surprise at this answer. Heinrich thought, with my warrior spirit and instant growth abilities, there was no need to limit myself. I would absorb all the fighting techniques of the holy knights. But, a holy knight pointed at the purple-haired man who was standing silently without saying anything. "Isn't he also a member of the Knights Guild? Why didn't he say anything?" Another knight shyly responded, "Ah, over there, that." The purple-haired guy finally spoke up, "Because in our Knights Guild, I choose the best among the best, a female knight." She turned her eyes towards Heinrich and commented, "But I think you're not bad." With that level of holy magic, he could have participated in the test. Heinrich wondered, his holy magic was also excellent, even compared to a high-ranking priest. What the heck are the criteria for this knight order? The female knight turned around and said, "Follow me." Heinrich followed her into a dark tunnel. Our Knights Guild has the task of protecting the most important stronghold in the main hall. The most important stronghold, where is that? Female knight, that one. I'll let you know when you pass the test. The two entered a room full of books. In front of them was a large skeleton wearing a cloak holding an axe and a long scroll with something written on it. In front of the table, a mysterious person was sitting. He was completely covered and wearing a very strange mask. Heinrich recognizes, cloak and mask, judge of heresy. The female knight crossed her arms and asked Heinrich, "You just need to read the line on the table. Remember to read clearly, so that even the gods can hear you." Heinrich worriedly thought, "Oh no, this is how to get rid of spies. If not, my identity will be revealed." He said uncomfortably, "What is this? I feel self-conscious because my loyalty is being questioned." The female knight replied nonchalantly, "It's just a process." "Is there a reason why you can't read it?" Heinrich gritted his teeth, "Damn it." Finally, he looked up and read the words on the scroll, "I am the messenger and sword of the gods, so I swear to keep silent under all circumstances. To protect it, I will throw myself into the sea of fire and..." Mark of loyalty engraved on his body, imprinted on his tongue when Hans uttered his oath. He covered his mouth, it was burning. The masked man said, "Come in." Heinrich followed the female knight deep into the basement. He pointed to his mouth in annoyance and said, "What did you just do? The ban on revealing secrets, the ban, is not a blessing." She smiled. The blessing of silence would prevent him from revealing some information whether by force or will. Heinrich thought warmly, that was a ban, right? So let me explain. We are the Radiant Shield Group, using our lives to protect the tunnel of the main hall. In front, two knights wearing full armor are guarding a door. This is the first and last time I will meet you in person in this place. Remember carefully with your eyes. What am I protecting? The two knights pulled out their swords and at the same time inserted them into two holes in the door. The door opened. Heinrich walked in. I knew there was something strange, but I didn't expect it to be such a shocking secret. The reason the guild placed its most elite forces at this temple. Reason for all classes of protection bans, blessings. In the deepest part of the Great Hall lies the last piece of the Immortal King. The last fragment of the Immortal King. I can't believe it's hidden under this great Reselia shrine. Heinrich looked at the fragment that was tied up in chains floating in the middle of the fountain. Well, the Great Holy Order is one of the greatest powers on the continent. There's no way those people couldn't find any fragments after centuries of searching. I want to get that fragment right away, but there are a total of 4 Knight Orders guarding this great temple. Even Hans will not be able to retrieve the fragment from the depths of the temple. I have to carefully think of a way. Suddenly the female knight appeared behind him and said, because of the blessing in his mouth, he wouldn't be able to say it out loud, but as usual, I would still say this truth cannot be revealed to anyone. Heinrich replied, yes. He put his hand on his chest and swore, don't worry, I promise only I know about this. That's right, your me here includes Hans and Heinz, it doesn't violate this promise at all. On this side, Hans also got the information, ha ha ha, the last fragment, what an unexpected stroke of luck, but Harley's process is more unstable than I thought. What's the problem? The theory is perfect, the scene was terrifying, Harley was tied tightly by chains, her body convulsing with blood stains. He kept coughing and coughing, feeling like something was boiling inside. Hans looked at the heart rate monitor and thought, the dragon blood must have settled in his body, but maybe I should adjust the intensity. He pushed his hand hard on the adjustment bar. Harley's body after receiving more dragon blood convulsed violently, he screamed in pain, Gah! Hans called out Harley's name in confusion. Had it exceeded the limit of super recovery? If that's the case, then I'll lose both Harley and all my research. If that's the case, no matter, it's all or nothing, I'll inject all the dragon's blood. The impact was terrifying. Harley's eyes turned red, blood even shot out of her eyes. His whole body also radiated terrible red energy. Then suddenly everything quieted down, Harley's body became motionless. Damn it, have I failed? Hans turned and left. Sorry Harley. Suddenly the display system startled Hans. What the hell is this? Develop exclusive skills, your skills have grown, potential unlocked, the number of avatars you can own has increased. Hans was extremely confused. Development? What development? There was only a pile of corpses here, but no development? No. Harley was motionless and suddenly had a violent seizure. You have acquired the physical mutation skill. The chains binding Harley cracked. The creature's recovery skill has exceeded its limit. The super healing skill has evolved into a recovery skill. Harley shouted loudly as power filled his body. The adaptive skill had evolved into a mutant special skill. Oh, finally connecting minds, the bet was successful. Harley massaged his body and smiled complacently. This was the effect of mutation. He felt like he had become a completely new species. Dragon scales also appeared on his face. Hans flipped through the magic book and recorded it. The good news didn't stop there. I didn't expect my avatars to increase through natural growth without relying on the merit shop. This is unprecedented, an extraordinary achievement. Harley blocked Hans's book page and said, I'll check how to use the new avatar later, but for now, I should test my ability. Clear blue sky, bright sunlight, cool green trees. Harley stretched out her arms to enjoy the fresh air. The mutation is truly amazing, all my senses have become sharper. I even heard the soft breathing of the monster aiming at me. A big black panther hiding in the bushes was standing and waiting for Harley. The black panther raised its sharp teeth and rushed forward. What is this? Looking back now, you are the species that I first met when I came to this world, right? It's really nice to meet you. Harley just needs to grab the leopard's neck with her bare hands. Sorry, but my skills have changed a lot since then. You wrestled the leopard down with great ease. Harley's face was filled with crazy excitement. He used his bare hands to poke the leopard. The leopard's body was torn open, revealing a sparkling blue stone. Harley smiled complacently. To develop the mutant trait effectively, I need to swallow the monster's core, the magic stone. That's the most effective method. I hold the stone in my hand. Here it is. Now let's start. I throw the stone into my mouth, biting it, my subject. Let's make it more obvious with physical mutations. His body grew significantly in both width and height. Harley was extremely satisfied with this result. Having a large body is definitely an advantage in combat. It seems like she is 2 meters tall. Notification system, you have gained the skill, Voracious Feast, digest everything quickly and easily, allowing you to consume even more. Using physical mutations that actually made him hungry, he did not hesitate to grab the meat from the leopard. But with a gluttonous party, it can be solved, right? Just like that, he devoured it deliciously. The raw meat tasted sweet and the blood gave a refreshing feeling. Is it because of a mutation? I can't hold back my laughter or emotions. Everyone will think I'm crazy in this situation. This is clearly a barbaric act, right? Suddenly a thought flashed in his mind. Oh savage. I heard there is a barbarian alliance in the south of the continent. If so then. It's time to change denominations, at the harbor of a new kingdom. This is the seat of the Tulek kingdom, Tarek. The street is crowded with people passing by. Oh my god, what is that? Isn't that a northern barbarian? What brought him to the west? Harley stopped at a meat skewer shop. The shop owner looked scared and confused. Oh, hello, everyone seems cautious. Chad's body is so shiny, even though it's a bit excessive. Harley in a ghost outfit, carrying a spear behind him, combined with his large body, certainly scares many people. But Harley's goal is to become a hero strong enough to influence the entire continent, to create an unforgettable impression that no one will forget. The shop owner trembled and stammered, what brings you here? Of course. I came here to exterminate the monsters in the northern mountains near the Steel Fortress. This city exists for that. He slammed the table and said with a loud and spirited voice that on the contrary scared the shopkeeper to tears. Yes, of course, I'll take you to the boat right away, rookie mercenary. Okay, let's do it. Harley's voice is really loud. It rained again on Reselia land, but it couldn't stop the exciting sounds in the training camp. The Puritan spear fell to the ground. Well. Winner, Mr. Heinlich. The knight gave up, sat on the ground tiredly and groaned. Hey, this stubborn guy. He had truly mastered all the weapon techniques of the Knight Order. The system displays, the creature has received enlightenment through training, you have received comprehensive weapon mastery skills. It's done, Heinlich thought as he walked around the temple. Now I can use weapons with even greater perfection. This experience will also be a great help to my other avatars. A peaceful scene in a shop. Oh, this one is made of copper, the texture is really interesting. The old man in the hat looks uncomfortable. Sir. You can take a look if you want, but it's been 2 hours, are you going to buy it or not? The man gently replied, I'm sorry, store manager. My knowledge is still poor. This is Hubert, Han Sung-Yun's 6th avatar. Hubert, the 6th avatar achieved through Harley development. His intrinsic ability is appraisal, a power that allows him to view information about items. He holds an item on the name, displaying information. Ruby material weighs 126 grams, copper material weighs 480 grams. Because his proficiency is still low, only basic information appears, but if he keeps improving, he can become a merchant who dominates the entire continent. Of course, before that, he must stop the current merchant's opposition. Hubert looked out the window and thought, for that to happen, Harley's heroic influence needs to grow even stronger. Over here, on a snowy mountain. Oh, so it's you. The biggest destroyer in this mountain. He swung his axe to fight the big bear. But no, this bear was stronger than he thought. Not only was the bear unharmed, but his axe was broken in half. I'm full of anger, you bastard. The bear raised its hand and hit him, sending him flying into the distance. Harley held her head, the axe was ineffective. If so, at this moment the bear would have opened its mouth and rushed forward, ready to swallow Harley. Harley used the body mutation skill. His arms grew full of dragon scales. He raised his hand and punched the bear. The destructive power was so great that the giant bear flew far away. Well, using your bare hands is stronger than a weapon. However, Harley thinks, with this monster power, he won't be praised as a hero. He looked at the transformed hand filled with dragon scales, wondering if there was a way to use the monster's life force without having to transform his body. Just try it and see. Harley clenched her other hand tightly, focusing on just channeling energy, not transforming. A fire burned. Notification system, the entity has met the conditions and achieved enlightenment. Gain special skills, summon aura. Harley looked at the result with pride, his hands were filled with strength but there was no change at all. Okay, finally a more human-like skill. Suddenly there was something behind him. A giant snow monster was lifting its foot to trample Harley to death. Harley exclaimed, the northern mountains are different. After bears are ogres. Let's see if I should test out this new ability. The demon ogre stomped its giant foot down. He smiled proudly, when he thought he had defeated this stupid human. But no, Harley is still holding that giant foot. Hey, you think it's funny? Want to see something really funny? Let me show you clearly. Immediately, a fire burned around Harley's body. His fighting power was extremely strong. He grabbed the axe and rushed frantically screaming. The ogre of the forest was sleeping. The demon ogre seemed to sense danger approaching. But it was all too late, the axe fell, the battle ended. Harley looked very pleased with the axe. With this, I will too rise to be a hero. Some unpleasant smell drifted towards Harley. What is this smell, both familiar and disgusting? Sounds like the smell of a navel. Harley followed to the place where this strange smell was coming from. Oh ho, so it's you. Oath of betrayal. I don't know what you're planning in this faraway place, but today I will uproot rotten seeds. Take it and die. Over here in the sanctuary, a special guest is sipping a cup of tea. This tea is truly wonderful. Thank you for your warm welcome. The saint sitting opposite happily replied, I'm glad it suits your taste. Our main church also really appreciates everyone coming here. Heinrich stood next to the saint and thought to himself, the new ally of the church, the elves, and not just ordinary elves but high elves. The elven kingdom of the enamel continent, which is the kingdom of the elves who worship the world tree. Even though they serve different gods. The main god church and the elf kingdom also recognize each other and maintain regular diplomacy. Recognizing an existence and choosing an object of worship are two completely different things. The high elves are the upper class of the elf kingdom. If he comes here, then does that mean they plan to use the power of the world tree to find Hans? Anyway, this is amazing, his eyes really look like stars. The high elf spoke, it seemed my eyes had caught his attention, making Heinrich startled. Hey, am I staring too much? Heinrich quickly apologized, I'm sorry I didn't realize I was staring. He secretly wondered, it was aimed in this direction. The saintess on one side smiled shyly. The high elf pointed at his eyes and said, it's okay, in fact it is a necessary topic of discussion. These eyes are something only a high elf can do. The elves born with these eyes are priests who serve to connect the world tree and our people, because it is very rare for people born with this quality. Each generation at most only 2 to 3 people are born with it. And people like that, they've mostly aged lately, so the birth of a high elf is highly anticipated. The saint wondered, so did the urgent request for help have something to do with that situation? A child who met the requirements was born in the Ion continent, but they were captured by slave hunters and sold as sacrifices to a dark magician. We would like to request the church's help of the master god to find that child. The saint's face is full of worry. It's terrible. Do you have any clue? The high elf replied, in the northern mountains. We have tracked them somewhere in the mountains. The northern mountains, it's a remote and dangerous place. Do you have any physical description? And Harley is here, in a dark cave. He was holding his head as debris fell on him. They hadn't awakened their eyes yet, so on the outside they looked like a normal elf. A teenager by human standards, a teenager with an elf-like appearance with green hair and long ears on his neck wearing a slave chain was also here, light blue hair and orange eyes. He was the boy the elves were looking for. Wait a minute, that's impossible. Heinrich also noticed. Harley smiled and asked, kid, what's your name? The boy replied, Sicily, it's Sicily.